Welcome back to North Wilkesboro Speedway, located in beautiful North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. It's championship weekend, and now we have reached the Smart Modified, powered by Pace-O-Matic portion of the afternoon, and we have representatives here from Frontier Natural Gas. Please welcome Mike Hamby, Sam Longworth, and Aaron Longworth with the command. Gentlemen?
Drivers, start your engines!
The sound of 600 horsepower times 28 coming to life on the front stretch at one of the most legendary tracks in America, North Wilkesboro Speedway. Great field of modifieds here today. Winners all around the country, champions as well. Some new schemes, some new colors, some new numbers associated with new drivers here today for the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic. It'll be 99 laps, but the key thing that all of these drivers will be looking at in the initial stages of this race, the first stage for Bill Helmut, stage number 1, 30 laps. At the end of 30 laps, they'll have that opportunity to take a break, assess that race car, and even come down pit road if they want to make an adjustment.
The big talking point across all three series racing here is how this track has changed, not just from when they were last here, but also just over the course of the last day or so, or even for these modified drivers since the test. Everyone has said that with the varying temperatures, including late last night when it cooled off, around when they qualified, to right now, heat of the day with the sun starting to set again, all of these crew chiefs have had to work some of their magic to figure out what type of machine they can give these drivers to do battle with, because this racetrack has been tough to figure out, and now they all got to do it collectively in a group as they race against one another.
And again, that's with the fact that the Pro Late models put down all this rubber. Now you have the Smart Modified Tour that's out there, and usually in our Cars Tour series, they can watch the pros and learn some things about how the track is going to handle, but with all this rubber that's going to be laid down in the 99 laps of this Smart Modified Tour race, you can throw all that out the window. That's one problem I don't want to be dealing with in 125 laps later.
And 81 degrees right now, the ambient temperature around North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. There you see a talented front row. How about that? NASCAR Hall of Famer Bobby Labonte and Ryan Newman, who just got inducted into the North Carolina Motorsports Hall of Fame.
Row 2, you'll see Joey Coulter, former Truck Series winner, who lines up on the inside of that third row, outside of most recent winner on the Smart Modified Tour. In what was a very eventful storyline to come out of that race, Carson Lofton, back in the Shady Grady Racing, number 15, and he'll be strapping into a late model stock car a little bit later on tonight.
And row number 3, the 1JC for Jake Crum. Alongside of him will be Luke Baldwin, one of the championship contenders.
Inside of row number 4, Joey Braun having the keys to the Hillbilly Racing, number 79. He's been so impressive with these opportunities in a Tour Type Modified, starting alongside the 77 NY of Will Lambros.
Rounding out the top 10, two-time NASCAR Modified champion at Bowman Gray Stadium, Brandon Ward, and Jonathan Cash, winner at Coastal Plains Raceway Labor Day weekend.
Starting on the inside of the next row, young gun Bryce Bailey getting the keys to Jamie Tomato's number 99 for today's race, and multi-time Smart Modified Tour winner and champion Burt Myers looking for that first win of the season. He'll be starting 12th.
New colors for Danny Bone this week with a new race car, yellow with that number 25. He's a two-time winner this year. He'll line up 13th alongside of him, the nice guy from Reedy Creek, North Carolina, Jimmy Wallace, making his 61st career start with the Smart Mods.
The furthest back contending championship contender, Paulie Hartwig III in the 73, going to line up 15th alongside of Slate Myers in the 4.
One of the characters in the pit area will line up 17th. Jeremy Gerstner in the number 55. Eddie McCarthy out of New Jersey has a very fast race car with that number 20 machine. He'll start 18th.
Row number 10, another young driver, Carter McMurray, the son of Daytona 500 champion Jamie McMurray, alongside of Jack Baldwin, who's trying to find more success for the Baldwin family in the modified. He'll start the 7NY 20th.
21st, Tommy Buzzy Jr. and Karsten D. John Tomaso, who won the Garden State Classic at Wall Stadium. He'll start 22nd.
Daniel Yates will roll off 23rd. Anthony Bello, a versatile racer, going to start the 12 PA in 24th.
Norman Newman in that number 11 machine starts 25th. And Caden Lapsevich, Skip Flores qualified the car yesterday. Caden Lapsevich, crew chief for ARCA, was at Talladega yesterday. He's back behind the wheel today.
And rounding out the field will be Brody Jones in 27th and Melissa Fifield in the 01. As we come to the one to go, down to Derek.
Guys, you can see the cars rolling behind me. Yes, it's a championship race, but after talking with the crews, points don't matter. Finishing position does. Whichever championship contender finishes the highest in this race today is going to come out with the title. So a lot of eyes are going to be watching those first 3 rows with Ryan Newman and Luke Baldwin on the outside. A little bit deeper in the field is Paulie Hartwig. They said that they're going to run their own race, but all 3 championship contenders have said they'll be keeping an eye on each other.
A lot of pressure, and just give you some perspective as we're getting set to come to the green flag. Newman and Baldwin in the championship mix in the final race last year. Obviously, Paulie Hartwig, a Rookie of the Year competitor, not in that mix. Does experience pay off here today? The final race of the year for the Smart Modified Tour, and 600 horsepower will come to life off of turn number 4 for the Frontier 99 at North Wilkesboro Speedway. What a jump by Bobby Labonte, gains that top spot. Now Coulter and Newman were side by side momentarily. Coulter on the inside of Carson Lofton in the 15. Coulter not getting going on that inside groove.
You saw the top lane was pretty much preferred for most of the Pro Late model race. Here, Labonte shot out of a cannon on the bottom of that first row. He's got the leaders. Lofton peeking to the outside of Newman. Slices low.
Look at Carson Lofton go to the inside of Newman. Newman's got to be careful. He has said that. I just want to keep Luke Baldwin and Paulie Hartwig in my sights right now. Newman and Baldwin, the championship competitors, 3rd and 4th on the racetrack.
What was it? Newman was so excited yesterday when he was able to qualify in the top 4, and he said, I'm a row in front of my competitors. Well, that row is gone. Luke Baldwin is already there trying to challenge him for that 3rd position off of turn 4.
And already in the top spot is Carson Lofton. He goes by Bobby Labonte. Lofton led 85 laps last week at Tri-County Speedway to pick up the victory. He's already to the front of the field and tight racing from 4th on back.
And that was championship contender Luke Baldwin. One of the identifiers, you can see that yellow banner right where the roof meets the, I'd say, the small portion of the windshield in front of where the driver sits in these cars. Luke Baldwin wanted to get down in front of Jake Crum, and now here's Coulter doing the same to Newman in turn 3.
Coulter to the inside of Newman. This is for 3rd, and watch, will this open up the door for Baldwin? Newman always has a wide race car. He's one tough customer, but Baldwin is there on the inside. The 2 championship contenders duking it out in the early going of the Frontier 99.
We have seen a lot of big dives already in 3 and 4. And with how these modifieds were wiggling all around the corner yesterday in qualifying, we've seen that carry over into this race today. Side by side for the championship lead. Newman, Baldwin into turn number 3.
Will Lambros is there in that red and white number 77 as well. Long Islander wheeling a Modify for his 2nd race of the year. Newman's going to give up the spot. Baldwin in the championship lead right now in that 4th spot.
Now Newman left to contest with Lambros, who stays to the bottom in that white and red number 77, with Jake Crum closing up to the back Nerf bar of Lambros cars. They come off of 4. Newman falling back a little bit here. Started 2nd. He's already back to 5th. In danger of falling out of the top 5 as Lambros edges ahead.
If you wonder who this Lambros kid is, he's pretty good. Ran 4 or 5 shows last year. 2nd show of the year for Lambros. He's solidly in the top 5 right now. Lambros, just to give you some experience of what he's done, he's a road racer. He's run the 24 Hours of Daytona.
Figuring out these tour-type modifieds pretty quickly as now Jake Crum looks to the bottom of the Shitty Coolers number 2 for Ryan Newman. In 3 and 4, Joey Braun lining up behind in the 79 car as well as Newman continues to fade in the early going of this race.
Look at Joey Braun in the Hillbilly ride at number 79. Shot to the bottom of the racetrack, just trying things out a little bit. Obviously kind of faded up the racetrack a little bit. Right now, it looks like in the top 10, just about the top 10, all single file right now. These cars are lightning quick.
Melissa Fifield has fallen a lap off the leaders. So far, she's been able to yield down low to let the fast cars and the lead lap cars be able to work their way up top. As we check in on Paulie Hartwig III, we see Newman's been falling back a little bit. Luke Baldwin's picked up a couple of spots. As for Paulie, he too has lost a few positions from where he started.
Yeah, he's back in 17th right now. But the thing about Paulie Hartwig is He's not always the best qualifier, but man, he finds his way to the front of the field at the end of this race. And remember, even though he's 14 years old, at 11 years old, a few years ago during the racetrack revival, he won on back-to-back nights with the crate modifieds here at Wilkesboro.
Check back in on the battle up front. Here's Lofton nursing what is about a 4/10 of a second lead over Bobby Labonte. And Joey Coulter, the three cars that have pretty much broken away from Lambros and Baldwin, who hold down the final few spots in the top 5. Lofton trying to pick up right where he left off at Tri-County, with Labonte and Coulter just riding.
Bobby Labonte returning to the Smart Modified Tour Wars here at Wilkesboro. We go a little bit further back in the field. This is Eddie McCarthy in the number 20, getting by Burt Myers. This spot here right now being vied for right there in the top 10. And right now, you take a look at Burt Myers, actually down to 12th and 13th right now. McCarthy, a two-time winner at Ball Stadium this year, in that green and black car, picks up the spot.
There's Jack Baldwin, who had a moment there in the Tommy Baldwin Racing 7NY, trying to get by Carter McMurray. That's Jimmy Wallace behind him in the 21, also trying to pick up his spot. It's been fun to watch all of the youth run through driving these cars and these machines, and I'll put McMurray and Jack Baldwin on that list as well. They're trying to figure these things out as Baldwin kicks up the dust in 3 and 4.
Baldwin was not happy with his run yesterday in qualifying. He's got that black and red 7NY. And it looks like Carter McMurray trouble maybe underneath the hood for that Bass Pro Shops car. Looks like we have some fluid down, possible oil on the racetrack. From underneath the hood, we saw a little hiccup going into the corner for Carter McMurray. Saw some smoke, and then he just spins out. All sorts of fluid coming from underneath that race car. McMurray, who has run a part-time schedule with the Smart Modified Tour this year with a handful of top 10 finishes. He's got 5 wins in crate modifieds. Tracks like Caraway and Ace Speedway up by Elon University, but trouble for Carter McMurray early in the going here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Let's take a look at the replay of what happened there. Our Flow Racing cameras were right on it, and watch McMurray right in front of that 7NY.
Yeah, just at the top end is where we saw the initial puff of smoke, and it didn't take long for things to come completely undone. Great job by the rest of the field to not get more so involved in that incident after Carter McMurray's problems over in the first and second corner. And it's funny, we just wrapped up Victory Lane with Keelan Harvick. I remember the days where both Keelan and Carter were racing against each other in go-karts. Keelan went the full fendered route after doing some stuff overseas. Carter now racing a tour type modified. Wouldn't be surprised if they somehow find each other again in some respective racing series on a national level in the not too distant future. But for Carter, his day is not going to end the way that he had hoped for with this premature end here in our first caution for this race.
And I love the steps that Jamie McMurray is taking with his son Carter here. Most likely going to be back behind the wheel of a modified, finding his way a little bit, maybe before going the fendered route. But I think you're right. Keelan Harvick and Carter McMurray, they'll meet again here in the near future. Let's go down to Derek.
Thanks, Bob. We're keeping an eye on the number 2 of Ryan Newman. Started second, faded back to 6th. He was getting passed by a bunch of cars out there. Ran down to talk to the Aggressive Hydraulic Shitty Coolers crew. Asked them what's going on with the car. They said they're just a little too free right now. Freer than Ryan would like to be, which is why they faded back a little.
Thanks, Derek. And Blake, we heard both Luke and Keelan talk about a similar distance race for these cars. Remember, we went 100 laps with the pros. We're going 99 laps here. That's long enough for the pendulum to swing.
Yes.
That handle could come back to them when it matters most. I think that may be what they're hoping for.
Absolutely, and that was something that was across the board, whether it was here in the Smart Modified Tour or over with the late models with the Z-Max Cars Tour, that the handling was going to trend free for a lot of these drivers as we got into the heat of the day here, as Carter McMurray assessing the damage to his number 40 car at the moment.
You see the cleanup having to continue down there, not only to retrieve the car, but also to clean up the fluid on that machine.
Paulie Hartwig running in the 17th spot right now. We go to our Racing Electronics race communication. Paulie, what are you thinking about that race car right now?
Sorry, we're overheated right now, so, I mean, the car's really fired off really good right now, so let's see what we got here.
Just to clarify, I believe you said the car is overheating. What's it turning right now?
Just stop 220. We might come in when we stop, take the nose off or something. The last time it happened when we were running really hot, one of the fuel gauges the fuel Wilkesboro. So hopefully it's not out again, and hopefully we can fight for the championship. So
We wish you the best of luck, Paulie, and maybe we'll talk to you a little later.
thank you.
So interesting scenario for one of the championship competitors, Paulie Hartwig. That car a little bit hot right now.
So we have Newman, who has said he's got a little bit of handling trouble on his car. Also, we've got Paulie Hartwig, who says that he's overheating. And I believe I just saw Danny Bone pull off the backstretch. Now, he wasn't one of the championship contenders this year. He was last year, but we expected Danny to be a threat to win. He just pulled his car straight down up towards the Smart Garage area. It appears as though Danny Bone's day is over. For more on our pole sitter to start this race by virtue of the redraw earlier, Derek has more on Bobby Labonte.
Yeah, we just ran down to the PSR Products crew, talked to the crew chief, Phil Stefanelli, asked him, what is Bobby telling you about the car? He said, we feel pretty good right now, just a little bit tight, but they think that tight condition is going to go away as the fuel burns off and the car starts to get neutral.
Thanks, Derek. And, you know, Bobby is someone who has been very busy all year long. In fact, he's taken up the tutelage opportunity to coach Max Reeves, who is the newest development driver in the Joe Gibbs Racing stable, who has had a lot of success in the ARCA Menard Series this season. In fact, just closed out that year with a win. Bobby has been with Max at the racetrack, also traveling with him for several other events that he has been running and competing in. And it's been a great chance for Bobby to pass along his knowledge and expertise to a young driver who's got a lot of experience.
Well, right in front of Bobby Labonte is the 15 car of Carson Lofton. We'll go to our Racing Electronics Race Communication. Carson, how good is that race car right now in the lead?
Yeah, man, it feels really good. He's shooting good. He's the guy. He's brought a really fast race car. He was fast all day. Qualified second. Obviously got a really good car right now. So hopefully he can keep it in the front all night and ride the elevator.
Carson, what do you think about this racetrack right now? A little hotter temperatures than we saw yesterday in practice.
At this 4, I feel like it's pretty similar. If anything, I like it a little bit better because we were after the pros. I was a little skeptical to see what it do, but I think we got a good race car right now, so hopefully it's underneath me.
Good luck, Carson. Carson Lofton talking about this racetrack, Blake, and that's something that we're keeping an eye on for sure. Let's go down to James Pike.
Yeah, very quickly, Carter McMurray has been released from the infield care center. I talked to him, I asked him, did you have any indication of what went wrong? And he said, no, just blew up, no idea until it actually happened.
Bad break for Carter McMurray, who was having a very good run. Unfortunately, a blown engine on that number 40 machine. We're getting ready to get started here. You see Carson Lofton with that CitraSafe choose cone, chooses the inside lane, putting Bobby Labonte on the outside, but I think that's right where Bobby Labonte wants to be. He was one of those drivers running the highest groove in the corners.
Yeah, almost like what we saw Kevin Harvick doing in the early laps of the Pro Late Model race. You know, try to get your car to work up there because that could end up being the preferred groove as it was in that pro race.
Well,
So-
and if you're loose, it's going to be really tough to hold it on the bottom. You have more banking to catch you as you move up the racetrack.
Lofton in the 15, Labonte in the 38, second row, Lambros and Coulter on the outside as we fire in the Pace-O-Matic restart zone. Look at Lofton blast to the front again. Coulter trying to take advantage of that outside groove to gain some spots back on the outside of Will Lambros. He's going to have the momentum off the corner, but Lambros is 77, looks pretty sporty.
Yeah, Lambros got a really good run off of turn 4 on the inside lane. Now there's Luke Baldwin. Right now, your highest running championship contender in 5th spot in the yellow and black 7VA, trying to figure out how this fight in front of him is going to unfold, with Coulter being able to hold off Lambros for now. Luke gets to the bottom, now starts to try to size up the competition with Newman closing back in on Luke Baldwin.
Lambros running in one of those PSR chassis race cars, wants to be careful around Luke Baldwin as well. Baldwin files in behind Lambros, and right behind Baldwin is Ryan Newman. Those championship competitors keep each other in sight.
Cars behind him, the number 79, Joey Braun, side by side with Brandon Ward in the 04. After another great season at the Madhouse for Brandon Ward and company, picking up a title there, racing against a driver who's cut his teeth up in the Northeast. Joey Braun racing for one of the most well-known Southern modified teams. Ward makes the pass. This is inside the top 10.
Brandon Ward has a fast race car trying to set up Jake Crum right in front of him, and Crum running for Paul French again this year, or this week, after running the entire season for Jamie and Cheryl Tomeno up to the North Wilkesboro event, but Ward's got a very fast race car. You mentioned how good he was at Bowman Gray Stadium with those 3 victories. He's always fast when he comes to the Smart Modified Tour, and he's got a good car here today in that KevinSaysYes.com number 04. Another car that we need to talk about a little bit, right behind Joey Braun, who had himself a handful coming off of turn number 4, a little bit sideways, that 99 car for Bryce Bailey. Bryce Bailey actually taking the seat in the Tomeno ride that Jake Crum vacated, and now Bailey having a shot at getting a good run here. He's hoping for a full-time ride. Jonathan Cash a little bit sideways coming off the corner in that 16.
Yeah, you can see it there from Baldwin as well, and also we kind of heard there before we got going from Paulie Hartwig III, and he has made up a couple of spots since he's restarted. Mentioned the potential overheating issue that he was mentioning with you on the radio just a couple of moments ago, but starting to make up some positions. You can see right here just behind Bert Myers. Again, the field kind of got stacked up behind Eddie McCarthy there on the restart. Stack up happened, and he made a tremendous save to keep us going green here, but it kind of stacked up the back of the field. You can see kind of how everything's playing out now as Hartwig trying to hang on to that 14th spot.
They're trying to make it. They got another few laps to go until they get to the end of Bell Helmet Stage 1. If he's able to do that, he's able to come down pit road, figure out what they need to do to that race car.
That opportunity is going to come quite quickly with the way in which we're clicking laps off here. Just under 18 seconds is all it takes for a tour type modified.
Oh, trouble in 1 and 2. A car going up in smoke to the outside of 1 and 2.
Joey Braun in the 79 ride, maybe the second engine problem we're seeing during this race on a hot day here in North Wilkesboro. Joey Braun, the Long Islander, he's had such a good year, but you look at the fluid coming out from underneath that race car, his season might be over with the Smart Modified Tour.
Boss, that's 2 cautions in the first 26 laps, both for mechanical problems, and that we tag on to the fact that Paulie Hartwig said that his car was overheating, so quite the dynamic here, and this is obviously the biggest track that the Smart Modified Tour runs on. The equipment here is being tested to a limit that it traditionally is not, and we've already had 2 vehicles expire in terms of the power plant, so we're not even a third of the way through this race yet.
Again, you're exactly right. A ton of throttle that you're using at this racetrack being pushed to the limit, and again, it's a hot day. It's kind of reminded me, Eric, of a race we had at Wake County Speedway several years ago, where the same thing happened, albeit that was aided by some contact at a quarter-mile bull ring, but kind of the same issue here. A lot of drivers overheating.
We just got a clarification from officials, too. Even though we're 26 laps in, it looks like this should be the conclusion of Bell Helmet Stage 1, and they're going to allow the teams to come down, and they had competition notes handed out to all these teams earlier this week. The first time they come down pit road, fuel only, and then they are able to come down pit road after that if they want to make some adjustments. Here's what happened on the racetrack. You see the 79 of Joey Braun right in front of several of the top competitors here today, including Paulie Hartwig in that line, blowing an engine. And there he is right in front of Bryce Bailey, Eddie McCarthy, Jonathan Cash. And you see that orange car, Paulie Hartwig surviving one here early in the going at Wilkesboro.
Yeah, hats off to Bryce Bailey. Jamie Tomeno's got to be happy about that one, because especially with all the fluid on the racetrack, for him to be able to get that thing low down enough and cut left to not run into the back of Joey Braun, remarkable effort by Bryce trying to make the most of this season-ending opportunity to drive for that race car driver and team.
My goodness, they have spared no expense with the amount of speed he drive. That is over at 1 and 2. My goodness.
So while these cars come down pit road, remember, first time down, they'll be able to fuel those race cars. They'll go back out on the racetrack, and then if they want to come back down pit road, they can do so. Under caution for the second time here in the Frontier 99 at North Wilkesboro Speedway. under red flag conditions here, 26 laps into the Bell Helmet stage number 1 for the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic. Ryan Newman right now running in the 6th spot. Newman, one of the championship contenders. Ryan, we're going to the Racing Electronics Race Communication. How is that race car right now?
I think, as they say in the South, it's fair to Midland. It was free to start there, pretty loose, and then after that last restart there, it got better. Was able to put a little bit of pressure back on Baldwin there, but overall, I would have liked to have stayed up farther towards the front, even though we're sitting 6th right now. But who knows with the strategy and how all this is going to play out, even with the tires just sitting here for a little bit. So we'll let it go back green. I guess we'll have another caution on lap 30, and then see how the strategy works.
Ryan, I know we spoke this week, kind of texted back and forth, and you said, listen, the goal is to win, and you win the championship. But right now, as you're in this race, you're right around Baldwin. Is that strategy the same thing, or is it just a little bit different right now?
Well, I mean, Lofton's got a really fast race car. He proved that. I mean, he pushed me all the way down the back straightaway in the first lap. So I feel like he's got the speed right now. We just don't know because we haven't had a 25 or 30 lap run here to see how it's all going to pan out. So I think once you get your tires hot, then guys will start fading, and we'll see who's got their strength. So I think we're getting ready to go back green here, Bob.
All right, good luck, Ryan.
Thank you.
So the car is starting back up here. They'll go back out on the racetrack at the end of this red flag session. There is Norman Newman in the number 11, one of the 2 drivers from Canada. But for more on what's going on with the top 5 drivers in this race thus far, let's go down to Derek Pernasiglio.
Thanks, Bob. And I did have a chance to chat with the crew chiefs of all the drivers in the top 5 right now. Ran over to the 15 of Carson Lofton. They're really confident right now. They said that they are just riding. The number 2 of Bobby, the 38, who's running in 2nd, Bobby Labonte, said the car's a tick tight right now, but it's manageable. In 3rd is Joey Coulter. They said the car is so far so good. It's really fast, and they're just trying to keep pace with everyone in the top 5. 4th is the 77 of Will Lambros. They said the car is just a little bit free, but they can keep up with it. And then we also ran over to Luke Baldwin with the 7VA. Talked to Neil Cantor, the crew chief, and they said the car is maintaining right now. The car is steady, and they are also trying to keep the leaders in their sights.
And I think that's what Baldwin was telling me this week when I spoke to him. He said, listen, I learned a lot last year by almost making a ton of mistakes during this race when he was battling for the championship. And that was an interesting comment, the mistakes that he almost made. He realized that and is trying to be patient behind the wheel of that 7VA this time around.
Yeah, it's unique to hear a driver reference things that didn't necessarily happen, didn't necessarily impact the way that his night unfolded because, oh, by the way, he won the championship. So, but I think also thinking back to last year where circumstances were a little bit different. We had a couple more championship contenders in the mix. There were 5 drivers vying for that title, and we did have a couple of them get taken out in a pretty hard crash on the front straightaway. The consequences for overstepping your boundaries here at North Wilkesboro, they're pretty extreme, especially if you compare them to a lot of the other tracks of Smart Tour visits. So the slightest mistake here could have the most catastrophic results. And I think not just our championship contending drivers, but our race winning drivers are all aware of that.
See the speedy dry down in turns 1 and 2. That's where Carter McMurray blew up his engine, and then Joey Braun blew up his engine as well. So a lot of speedy dry down in the corners there. Carson Lofton, we spoke to him just momentarily prior to going to break. Really a stout race car, and he talked about this track and the differences in the rubber and so forth, kind of just proving our point of this is tricky here today for all of these competitors.
Well, it's really tricky, and I think you had a really interesting conversation with him talking about the similarities between a modified and a late model stock. And I remember when I spoke with him early on in the Cars Tour season, he talked about having to learn the late model stocks, particularly in qualifying, the difference in the tire and how they behave, and trying to make qualifying speed out of that, and the nuances and differences between each of these race cars. And yet it's a total different factor here at North Wilkesboro because the lift points, getting on the throttle, all of those things, like you mentioned when you spoke with him, were so similar between the modified that he's racing now and the car he'll hop in for 125 laps later.
And that's strange because you wouldn't think that, honestly. When we had that conversation, then we talked about it, it was bizarre to us that it would be similar at a place like North Wilkesboro. We saw Jack Baldwin have his hands full in that 7NY. Right now he's on pit road and they're making some changes to that race car. Remember, these teams have one tire at their disposal, one brand new tire to put on any corner that they want. Normally it goes on the right rear, but they can also change the tires to get the desired stagger on any corner of that race car. And right now, Jack Baldwin, 6th in points, still a lot on the line for him. He is hoping to get up there in the top 5 in points, improve his position. He's looking to run the Smart Modified Tour full time again next year. And it's so good to see him back behind the wheel of a black and red 7NY like his granddad made famous, the Tiger Tom Baldwin's, for so many years.
And the one thing that I noticed, and yes, I do see a sticker on the right rear of Jake Crum, who was running in 7th spot at the time. So as you alluded to the rules, Bob, that's the one and only change tire that these teams have available. Jake Crum and that team have decided that they're going to put that tire on now. He has made his bed and he will lay in it for the rest of this race.
And this is exactly what Jake Crum did at Franklin County Raceway in the opening round of the playoffs. He played the track position game, taking that tire early and getting out ahead of the field, led a bunch of laps before Danny Bone passed him, but he was able to finish on the podium in the 3rd spot, and that guaranteed him, going on to that next round. So interesting strategy by Jake Crum here today, back with the Paul French ride.
And if anything, I think is going to be better in a race like this where track position very, very important, and more so than tire wear, because we're not on an abrasive surface. It'll be tire heat, and if you can keep that heat manageable, of course having fresher tires will be better, but I think it's going to be more advantageous in a race like this, where even if you have a car that's a little bit faster, it can be difficult to complete that pass, especially in these modifieds, how wide they are.
Jake Crum got knocked out of the playoffs last week at Tri-County Speedway. He's in the 1JC, the black car, near the end of the field. Another car that got knocked out in the opening round was that gray machine, the 02 Joey Coulter. He's still vying for points. He can actually pass Jake Crum in the standings right now, but Coulter just wants to get back to victory lane, and he's come so close this year, has been very consistent, but Coulter's got a very fast race car today.
Yeah, and add Coulter to the list of names we've alluded to pretty much all weekend long who have raced many of things. In fact, Joey has spent a lot of his time post-Truck Series career, pre-modified career on dirt, but it's these tour-type modifieds that so many people start to gravitate themselves towards. And I remember the story when Bobby Labonte first started driving these cars on a regular cadence back in about 2021, 2022. And he went on Dale Jr.'s show to talk about the experience. And when Dale posed the question, well, why do you like driving those cars? Bobby's answer was simple. Have you ever driven one? Because once you do, you'll know why. And that trend has continued with Coulter, with Newman, and so many more. For more, let's go to Derek.
You guys were just talking about why these NASCAR stars come and try the modifieds. Well, I had Joey Coulter on my podcast a while back and asked him, what is it about the modifieds you like so much? And he said, it is the fastest race car you can drive that is not aero dependent. And that's one of the things that he loves about these modifieds. You can sling them into the corner, you can manhandle them, and you don't have to worry about the cars getting aero tight or aero loose. Yes, some aerodynamics does come into play with it, but not like what he had experienced in the past during his NASCAR career.
The CitraSafe Choose Cone out right now. And by the way, you can go to Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, and get yourself some CitraSafe grill cleaner. It's the best grill cleaner on the market. Use it on my grills. I'll tell you what, if it's racing season, then it's grilling season, and you got to get yourself some CitraSafe. And I'm sure you've used it a time or two, Eric.
I actually got some this past week. I was
there
able
you
to
go.
Hang out with some of the CitraSafe folks, and they hooked me up because not only when race season ends, football season continues. Takes you right back to race season. The smoker's on every weekend. And I got to say, the Choose Cone has evolved since the last Smart race I've done. It's gone from being on a hand truck to now something that looks pretty cool. That's awesome.
Well, in our season opener, Johnny K careened into the Choose Cone, which was a lot bigger and a lot sturdier. That was the second time it was back to the fab shop, and that time the chassis was put out in the graveyard and we got a new Choose Cone.
I love it. I love this series.
Seen that one? We've had a Choose drone that I've seen in a lot of different series have utilized in the past as well. We pretty much have one today. It's just not being used officially.
Absolutely. Great coverage today by Flow Racing here on a big weekend for Flow. 5 different major championships in motorsports being decided this weekend. Coming back to the green flag, Carson Lofton in the 15 will choose exactly when he wants to get on the accelerator like he did right there. Carson Lofton back to the lead here in turn number 1.
First time through the speedy dry. Let's see how it works out for everybody. And look at Coulter on the bottom using that inside lane to go to second. Labonte falls to third.
Labonte slammed the door shut on Luke Baldwin. Baldwin back in fourth. Newman right behind him. Newman getting by the 77 just barely, but Lambros. Oh, big one down in turn number 1. Jonathan Cash in the Pace-O-Matic 16. Karsten D. John Tommaso in the 33. You see Bryce Bailey in the 99. Anthony Bello in the 12. And then the 5, the Alpine Partners car of Tommy Buzzy Jr. So lots of cars collected in turn number 1 here. 27 laps into this 99-lap race.
On the lap prior, Bryce Bailey was running 9th, Paulie Hartwig the 3rd, 10th, Jonathan Cash 11th. So let's see if one of our championship contenders either had a close call or a bit of an involvement in this one. This is the approach to turn 1.
This was right in front of Paulie Hartwig. Oh my, maybe some contact. Hard to tell exactly right there, but Bryce Bailey and Paulie Hartwig right at the heart of that.
I wonder if he had a motor problem.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It goes down before he ever enters the corner.
You saw the smoke come out the headers for the 99, and Hartwig trying to just escape a very big scare for championship contender Paulie Hartwig at Wilkesboro early on.
Good news is Bryce Bailey is okay. The bad news, this is another unfortunate event for this race team, even though it's got a different pilot. Here's Jonathan Cash trying to limp his car back to the pit area. Another one of the SS Racing cars in the field. I'm sure many of the Luke Baldwin's fans had a scare watching that car get swept up in there, as those cars are painted up nearly identical out of that racing stable. But you see Bryce Bailey surveying the damage and what appears to be our 3rd motor to expire. And ironically, it's all happened on that end of the racetrack. The top end approach on the downhill run to turn 1 when these cars are pretty much at top speed. So Cash involved, Bailey involved. Everybody else was able to drive away except for the number 99, whose unfortunate mechanical issue triggered this contact, which luckily for Paulie Hartwig III, he was able to escape without incident.
And during this red flag, the second one of the day, let's go to the Racing Electronics Race Communication to talk to Paulie Hartwig. Paulie, that happened right in front of you with the 99. Looked like it grenaded an engine. What was that like for you heading into turn number 1?
First off, I just want to thank God for being there with me, man. I thought we were getting killed there, but my spotter was really, really good. But I just got to thank God for getting me here. And thank God we didn't wreck this thing. I didn't know what to do at this point. I was trying to go really high, and I knew something was going on with Bryce. And it blew up, and I thought his oil was going into me. But I'm sorry whoever in the fence, because I tried to avoid it. But I just can't thank God for letting me avoid that wreck. And the car's being better now, so I think we'll be good.
Well, we appreciate that, Paulie. One more thing. How's that engine doing? What's the temp now?
It's really better. We're down to 200. We were actually 280 when we were the last lap before Joey Braun blew up. So we thought the bag was in the radiator, but I guess not. So water temp is running pretty good now. So we'll see what we got here.
All right, Paulie, we look forward to you charging through the field.
Thank you.
You'd never know that kid is as young as he is with the way that he talks. Especially, we've been talking about pressure all day, all weekend long. And in fact, Landon Lewis, who's going to compete for a Cars Store late model stock title, just about every interview we've done with him has been a bit emotional because he understands the situation. We talked to that youngster who almost got taken out of championship contention. Cool, calm, and collected, mild-mannered, unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely mature beyond his years, and he's been like that all year. I mean, you know, he's grown up around that Jersey racing scene, and that could be rough and tumble in Jersey. You know, Wall Stadium is a tough place to run.
You know better than anybody.
I love that place, man. I miss it
Indeed.
so much.
Man, I remember so many stories going to the Turkey Derby every year because we were from Long Island, but we would travel down to Belmar, New Jersey every Turkey Derby weekend there, you know, in November and see some just phenomenal racing. And speaking of Wall Stadium, Jamie Tomeno, the car owner on this 99, he had won a bunch of races at Wall Stadium back in the day. I remember that Howard Harvey 09, that orange machine. And Jamie, former NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour champion, unfortunate circumstances for his team with Bryce Bailey blowing an engine going into turn number 1 to bring out this latest caution and red flag.
Yeah, Wall Stadium well represented here. As we saw and we talked about earlier, Karsten DeJohn Tommaso in the field was involved in that wreck, but was able to drive away and join the tail end of the pack here. I know a lot of competitors made the trip down, and this event has kind of felt a little bit like the World Series of Asphalt when they pretty much assemble a convoy and you get the likes of, say, an Eddie McCarthy, the DeJohn Tommaso family, Ricky Collins back in the day, the Hartwig family. The list goes on. And, of course, I think about Jimmy Blewett, who it's been a rough year for him being outside of the race car as long as he has, and we're excited to see when Jimmy's able to get back into the cockpit of a race car. But the generation of the Blewett family continues on with the success that his youngster has had. And I'm not quite sure what the future is for Wall Stadium yet, but the rumors are it's bright, and that's exactly what I want to hear. I never want to see that track fall by the wayside. That's a second home for me.
It is an awesome place, and you speak about Eddie McCarthy, a two-time winner at Wall this year. McCarthy right now running in the 8th spot, having a very good run, and this is just such a Jersey-looking race car, and it's one of my favorite numbers that I see in the pits. When I go down there, the sun is shining here at Wilkesboro, and you can't quite tell it there because they are in the shade on the front stretch here, but around that number 20, that white number 20, the gold leaf lettering that so many people make famous there. Long Island, New Jersey area, Artie Tappan back in the day. I believe Gil Hearn had some gold leaf around his numbers, and the number 12 back in the day as well. So those Jersey cars are always sporty looking.
And I was watching him on one of those early restarts, and he did a tremendous job when there was a stack up. He had his hands full. He was sideswiping that car as they went down into turn 1 and was 3 wide in the middle, and he made it work and continued to survive and is now running in a pretty decent position.
So McCarthy, one of those drivers representing our little 1/3 mile high banked oval up on the shoreline of New Jersey. Just behind him, Paulie Hartwig III, as we just heard from, trying to race his way into the opportunity to perhaps win a championship. And for our track crew here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, I know Blake made the joke earlier, they spared no expense on the speedy drive for the last cleanup. They've done it again here on the approach to turn 1 after we saw Bryce Bailey have the power plant expire. Simultaneously, Jonathan Cash brought his car back to the pit lane. It looked as though there may be a glimmer of hope that he can get that car refired and rejoin this race. Unfortunately, right now, the tow truck is meeting Jonathan Cash in his pit stall. He's going to be towed back to the smart pit area, and his race is going to officially be over, as well as his 2025 season.
So let's take this opportunity to go back to the Racing Electronics race communication. Joey Coulter running in that 2nd spot. How good is that Gray Ghost today?
Pretty good so far. We've been pretty good since we tested a couple weeks ago, and Harold and the guys have just been keeping up with the racetrack and keeping the balance good. So we're feeling pretty good about everything so far. Obviously, qualifying was a big plus, big momentum boost for us coming into today. So keep the, well, I guess I can't say keep the fenders on it, but we'll just keep plugging away here, and I think we got a good shot.
You and the 15 look very strong right now. How hungry are you, Joey, to get back to victory lane here with the smart mods?
Pretty hungry. I mean, we've had quite a few get took from us and get away from us. So I owe at least one to my guys for sure, for as hard as they've worked this year. So pretty hungry, but you know, we're gonna be smart about it, get it done the right way, and have us a good evening.
Hey, Joey, real quickly, 3 blown engines in turns 1 and 2. How's that track down there the last time you took the green?
It's about like it was in May when we ran the wheeling race, and I think there was about 7 or 8 motors that popped that day. So it's a little bit of deja vu, but they're doing a good job cleaning it up, it looks like.
Wish you the best of luck the rest of this race, Joey.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Joey Coulter behind the wheel of the 02 in second. Let's go back to Derek.
Well, you can see over my shoulder they're starting to pull the number 16 of Jonathan Cash away. Ran over to the S&S crew, asked them what the damage was on the car. At first they thought they would be able to go back out after the caution flag. When they went back running under green, they said they can't be able to do it. The track bar broke, plus they also bent something in the drive line.
Tough break for Jonathan Cash, who got his first career Smart Modified Tour win Labor Day weekend at Coastal Plains Raceway. And that is something that you guys should join us for. If the schedules ever align, that Labor Day double down there at the beach on the coast of North Carolina between Coastal Plains Raceway in Jacksonville and Swansboro, North Carolina's Carteret County Speedway. Still under red flag conditions, we'll get green here in just a little while at North Wilkesboro Speedway. We are still 3 laps shy of the conclusion of Bell Helmet's stage number 1 during the Frontier 99 for the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic, live at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina today. For the final race of the season, On Flow Racing, Carson Lofton is your leader. With 3 more laps in the books, once we go green again, we will have an orange and white Bell Helmets checkered flag wave. At that time, teams can come down pit road and take on a tire. They can make some adjustments. They don't have to pit at that time, but you hear from some of these radios that several of the drivers are looking to take that opportunity.
Yeah, we saw, just on the last caution, which hard to believe came just 1 lap ago. Feels like it was a while ago. But Jay Crum, who had a top 10 spot, elected to forego that position to come down after the fuel stop and put that right rear tire on, that new right rear tire, if you will. And he was able to avoid that melee that unfolded up in front of him. But Carson Lofton has been the pace setter in this race. In fact, as we spoke to Ryan Newman earlier, he had direct compliments for how fast that car is. So not only are we able to see it from what he's done up to this point, but the competition has also noticed that 15 car is rolling right now.
So Carson Lofton looking pretty good. Let's get a report from Derek.
You guys were just talking about the 15. Ran into his father, Brian Lofton, former NASCAR Wheeling Southern Modified Tour champion. Asked him, what is he saying about the car? He says, the only thing that he's saying is that the car is absolutely perfect. He says he can't believe how good the car is performing right now. They're not pushing it at all, and the car is sticking to the track like glue, so that could be a bad sign for the rest of this field.
It could be indeed, Derek. Carson Lofton. Not often you get a flawless car, but Blake, you've spent a lot of time with Carson this year on the Cars Tour late model stock car realm, and he's going to be competing here at North Wilkesboro after this race, in that race, the finale of the season. But what have you learned about Carson Lofton this year?
I would say the biggest thing is just we talk a lot about these young drivers and how mature they are for their age, and Carson certainly fits that bill, and I think is somebody that has continued to piece things together throughout this 2025 season. And in his recent runs, both in the modifieds, I know the Tri-County race, a little bit of controversy at the end of that, but so many runs late in this late model stock car season, whether it was on the Cars Tour or at the Valley Star Credit Union 300, where he started up front on the pole for that prestigious race, just starting to put those little nuances and things together that he was never really missing. I mean, he's had pace all year long, but to be able to put full weekends together, to be able to provide feedback on a late model stock car, and I think by the end of this rookie season for his foray into Fender stock cars, you have a complete race car driver.
Carson Lofton will lead the field back to the green flag here in the number 15 machine. Joey Coulter alongside. Lofton has gotten the jump on each of the last 3 or 4 restarts. He's going to again in that Pace-O-Matic restart zone. And look at the gap he puts on Joey Coulter and Bobby Labonte into 1.
He timed that thing perfect. That's a big moment for Bobby Labonte on the bottom of the racetrack. Caught the car, but lost the spot to Baldwin, who's got some breathing room between he and Newman right now.
Wow, big time advantage for Luke Baldwin there, especially putting 2 or 3 cars between he and Ryan Newman, his closest championship competitor. Remember, this is a winner-take-all scenario. Who was that way up the racetrack? It was Slate Myers in the number 4. That's the backup car to his dad, Burt Myers. Slate had troubles underneath the hood yesterday in his number 4 machine, and now is in the Burt Myers backup car.
Boy, Newman appears to be getting kicked out of the draft here on the bottom of the racetrack. There's Paulie Hartwig III to the outside, trying to move up to what would be second in the final standings. If he can get around Newman here, and Slate's got more problems. He's up against the wall in turn 2. Caution is back out.
He'll bring out the caution as that Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet number 4 stops up there in turn number 2.
I wonder, is that fluid that it looks like it may be leaking out of the number 4 car as well, trailing that number 4 car, yeah.
Indeed, it is. Bad break for Slate Myers. He's had a troublesome finale with the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic. Competitor in the NASCAR Modified division came close to his first win at Bowman Gray Stadium this year, and it's been an up and down season for that 17-year-old, but so much talent behind the wheel. He's grooming himself to become a star here in the Modifieds, but has aspirations of going full Fendered racing as well.
Yeah, I got to spend a little bit of time with his father, Bert, and there was nothing but pride beaming from Bert whenever talking about Slate and his involvement in this type of car and this type of sport. Obviously, with the Myers family going back generations of driving these style of cars and doing so much for racing. But Slate's been able to pick up on it pretty quickly. And, you know, also there's been a bit of a tandem work between that family as well as Jason Myers. Really, the opportunity, I was used to seeing Jason compete with Bert on the Smart Tour, and Jason kind of stepped back a little bit this season to give that runway to Slate. From what I understand, Jason is planning on running the North-South shootout at least to close out the year, but a tremendous effort by all involved. Unfortunate end for Slate, though, on the Smart season.
Uncle Jason has been guiding Slate this entire year as his crew chief. Just a tough way to end the Smart Modified Tour season. And by the way, you got a chance to talk to Bert because you were on the Orange Bumper podcast. How was that?
It was awesome. I was, first off, the best thing, if you watch the show, Bert's got one of his doors up on the wall, and the tradition is the guest signs the door, and I was trying to be humble about it. I picked the bottom left-hand corner where nobody would see, and he said, "Put your name under Kyle Busch." so I listened, but we had a great time. Honestly, probably the most fun that we had was when we were about to walk out, and the extra 30 or 40 minutes we spent talking shop and telling old racing stories. That was a really good time, and honestly, an absolute blast. They're great people. Bert's always been so good to me and so kind to me. First time I was in the pit area and walked up to him and said, "I'm the new announcer for the Smart Tour." He talked to me like he knew me for years. So, unfortunate ending for Slate, but I know Bert's still out there, and if anyone hasn't had a chance to listen to that, they can go learn more about me and my story. Nothing interesting, just, you know, how I got here.
You're from Staten Island. Everybody from New York is interesting, right? Eric Brennan and Blake McCandless with us up in the booth here during the Smart Modified Tour race and having a fun time on this triple header weekend of championship battles. And we're seeing a good one so far that's taking a little different shape at this stage of the game here for the Smart Mods.
Well, we know that this racetrack is a test of driver, and it'll push you to your limit. And being able to find that razor's edge of speed and losing control of your race car. But we're finding out here that this is a test of man and machine. It's not just a test of man here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, as we've had multiple cars with motor failures already. We're not even to lap 30 yet.
Brandon Ward having himself a good run. Derek Bernasiglio.
He absolutely is. He started this race off in the 9th spot in that KevinSaysYes.com iHeartRadio sponsored number 04 machine. They destroyed the car back in July at Caraway Speedway, had to have it reclipped. This is the first race back for the car since being reclipped. They had a very successful test. The practice session they ran here the other day, they went even faster, so they were really excited about where this car was going. Ran down and talked to Will Spa, the crew chief over in the KevinSaysYes.com crew. They said the car is doing exactly what we want right now. It's settling in, and it's starting to level off the more laps that they run.
And he looked pretty good here prior to this rash of red flags. We're still 1 lap shy of completing Bell Helmet Stage 1, so we'll get fired up for one more lap and complete that. And the idea of that is the top 3 finishers in that Bell Helmet Stage 1 get a little extra cash. They get some bonus points towards the championship equation. That is still very important from 4th in the standings back. All those points mean something when you're battling for position in the top 10 in points. Let's go to James Pike.
A few updates from the Infield Care Center. I spoke with Bryson Bailey. He was checked and cleared, said that the motor blow-up similar to Connor McMurray's. I also just talked to Slate Myers, who was also checked and released from the Infield Care Center. He told me that he got up in the stuff up in the high groove of turn 2, and it was just really slick. He lost all grip. He said, I was running the same line that I've been running the whole weekend, and I went up there, and there was just absolutely nothing underneath me.
Thank you so much, James. Appreciate those updates on a couple of those drivers. You see the CitraSafe Grill Cleaners Choose Cone on the backstretch here today. Chris Honeycutt, the official that always mans the cone, and he takes good care of it, even when it was mangled earlier this year at Florence Motor Speedway.
Well, and I'll tell you one thing that may have changed with all that grip down there is the amount of speedy dry that's at that end of the racetrack. I hope there's a Walmart nearby before we get to this late model stock race, because they may need to go grab some more.
That's a bad joke with the Smart Modified Tour. We ran out of some at Franklin County this year.
No.
Had to bring clay out into the racetrack and run it into the racetrack to complete the final 6 or 7 laps of that race.
And it worked.
It did.
It was an amazing finish.
It did. You know, I remember Chris Williams talking to Jason Myers, and Chris said, what do you think? This is going to work? He goes, oh, hell yeah, I think it'll work. So just unbelievable ingenuity at Franklin County Raceway. Here we go, Lofton and Joey Coulter still owning that front row for this restart. Bobby Labonte just kind of, biding his time there in that second row. And Luke Baldwin had himself a restart last time by.
Yeah, and Bobby with a bit of a reprieve here. He's going to be on the inside of the second row as he was on the last restart. However, on that last restart, he about lost the race car in the middle of 1 and 2. That thing got evil on him, trying to get back to the powered 1 and 2. Luke got the spot away, and evidently Luke is going to elect that top lane here, maybe thinking that could happen again.
And here's what's interesting. All of the championship competitors, and there are 3 of them, Ryan Newman, Luke Baldwin, Paulie Hartwig, now in the top 10 for this restart. So Hartwig says, that overheating issue maybe has gone away for him. He escaped, from that big incident down in turn number 1 here just recently to bring out the red flag when Bryce Bailey blew an engine. Maybe luck on Paulie Hartwig's side here so far today.
He's got a lot of fan clubs watching along with him. I know some of the Wall Stadium friends we were mentioning earlier, they got a watch party going on at the Anderson Motorsports Garage. All they keep saying is, let's go PH3, let's go. Right now, he's got second in his gun sights and the championship a couple of rows ahead of that.
I want to note another driver that has having a pretty good run here today. He is going to line up inside the top 10 for this restart as well. That's the number 55 of Jeremy Gerstner. Gerstner, you know, part-time schedule this year, came back from an injury. He's a driver of the number 55, and I'm having himself a good run. He finished in the top 10 here with the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour back in May.
Yeah, Jeremy is another one of those. I remember talking to him for every smart race that I was able to be at, and he would commute from Florida up to each racetrack. I know that the commute out to some of those shoreline races from Charlotte and Mooresville areas, about 4 hours or so. After I met Jeremy, I said to him, I have no right to complain about my commute to the racetrack ever again, because he would do that back and forth for every race, and his answer all the time, wouldn't miss it for the world.
And it's interesting, too, because he looks like Kenny Rogers in six-pack. He's got that, you know, Class C motorhome and that open trailer in the back. So you got to love that for Jeremy Gerstner. Derek?
You know, you guys were up there just talking about the number 55 machine, the Cherokee Underground car of Jeremy Gerstner. He also won a Tour-type modified race earlier this year at Caraway, a $10,000 to win race. So that was the highlight of his year. But one thing that he was really excited about that he talked to me is that he is coming back full-time next year with the Smart Modified Tour.
And that's great to hear, because you talk about having conversations with Jeremy Gerstner. He's such a nice guy. That conversation that you expect is going to be 5 or 10 minutes winds up being about 45 or so.
Yeah, and then he'll take whatever time he's got left to finish whatever adjustments he has to on his own race car. He works on a lot of his own stuff. That is part of the family-owned entity that his family puts together, and also a great family all around. Happy we'll be seeing more of them on a smart slate next year.
I still got my eyes on that green and black number 20. They say green is bad luck in racing, but not for Eddie McCarthy, at least not yet here today, because that car has gained a lot of spots so far in this race. We'll have a one-lap shootout, we believe, for the conclusion of Bell Helmet stage number 1. Lofton, Coulter, front row. The end of that stage starts now. Lambros thought about going to the inside of Bobby Labonte, couldn't get to the inside. It's Lofton and Coulter 1 and 2. Baldwin on the outside of Labonte for third.
Bobby had peaked 3 wide to the inside of Newman. Thought better of it by the time he got to the corner. Here they come to end the stage. It's Lofton over Coulter and Baldwin as the caution flies to indicate the end of the Bell Helmet stage. And Carson Lofton picking up right where he left off with another great restart. He's going to have to do it again as we've re-racked the field here at the end of this stage.
Carson Lofton and that Shady Grady Racing team get a little extra cash as being the winner of Bell Helmet stage number 1. That's always a positive for these underfunded teams. So Lofton doing a good job in the first part of this race. And thank you to Bell Helmets for providing safety to all of these teams in terms of all the products that they have. Check them out online. You can also get them for if you're a rider in a motorcycle or an ATV, side-by-side, no matter what it is. Bell Helmets has safety products for you. By the way, we mentioned Eddie McCarthy, 5th place at the end. He moved from, I think, 6th or 7th to 5th place at the end of this stage. Pretty impressive for McCarthy out of New Jersey.
Yeah, I'm curious, you know, especially with this yellow. Now, granted, there's still an element of strategy that's going to kind of come into play here, and we might see some of it now, but that's Jake Crum, who just came down the pit lane. Remember, he put that sticker tire on, and I was a little hesitant because, as you mentioned, Bob, they could swap tires around a little bit here to make some changes, but I verified that they did put that sticker tire on that right rear and thought that they were kind of playing that strategy game. Well, now he's back on the pit lane, and this appears to be something totally different.
They're going underneath the hood on this one for Jake Crum. We'll see if we can get a report on that to find out what's going on with Jake Crum as they're looking at the carburetor right now for that number 1 machine.
So it was Crum who came to the pit lane on the first lap 26 caution. We're up to 5 cautions in the race now, including the end of this stage break at lap 30. But on lap 26 was when Crum came in and elected to put on that one and only sticker tire these teams have at their disposal, which theoretically, if the rest of the pack decides to come in and put that tire on at all, you would think that Crum would have a chance to siphon his way back up towards the front. But this mechanical gremlin that's plaguing this driver and team right now pretty much takes that strategy and throws it out the window.
Trying to analyze exactly what's going on here. And right now, I don't know if that car is under fire or not in the number 1. Carson Lofton leads this one at Bell Helmet stage number 1. Derek?
Yeah, Bob, was walking down here talking to some of the crew members, and some of the drivers seem to think that the 15 might be dropping a little bit of fluid out there on the racetrack. We couldn't get a positive assessment of it. I ran over to find Brian Lofton. I asked him if you guys were leaking fluid. They said they spilled a little bit of fuel during the fuel stop on pit road. They looked under the car, they didn't see anything leaking, and they were able to let the 15 go.
We continue to look at what's going on with Jake Crum, trying to figure out exactly the problem on that Paul French-owned race car. Last year, Jake Crum and Paul French, they ran a bunch of races together, had themselves some very good runs, and it appears like they got whatever was wrong fixed on that number 1. They're getting the air cleaner back on. Jake Crum is going to pull off.
And this shouldn't throw off that strategy all that much because, again, since he was one of the few that came in and put that tire on, he's still going to be in the back half of the field as he was. The chance is if everyone else selects to do that in front of him, he would still make up all those spots because he was kind of on an island of his own. So if they did have a mechanical issue to assess and repair, that may have been the best time to do it because we've only gone 4 laps since when they put that tire on to now.
And here's what will be interesting to figure out throughout the rest of this race. We're 30 laps into a 99-lap race. They had the fuel stop. They don't have to pit to take on that tire. Will somebody gamble? We saw a couple of competitors do that last week, and it paid off for them to actually go the entire distance on one set of tires. Jake Crum back down pit road, apparently not fixed underneath the hood in that carburetor area, maybe of the throttle linkage or something like that for the number 1. Let's go to Derek.
Yeah, over here in the Paul French crew with the Mount Airy Toyota team, Jake Crum just sitting in the car, watching the crew work feverishly on the carburetor on top of the engine. They're trying to figure out what the problem might be. They are adjusting the idle on the motor. They're putting the air cleaner on right now, so whatever problem they have, they're hoping that it's fixed.
Thank you so much, Derek. We appreciate that. So in talking about that strategy, Eric, they talk about this racetrack not really wearing tires. That could be something that is on the minds of some of these teams here, possibly staying out the entire distance.
Yeah, maybe they'll go the whole way because they're not going to have to worry about it. And with how tough it's been to pass, it seems, no matter what type of car we put on the racetrack, I don't know if anyone wants to risk putting that tire on and starting out towards the back of the field because, as you said, that pendulum swing of tire wear just hasn't been there since the repave of this facility.
Fuel system problem is the report that we're getting from pit road on Jake Crum's machine coming back to the green flag off of turn number 4 this time by. We've had a lot of these restarts with Lofton on the inside and Joey Coulter on the outside. We continue to watch that second row. Coulter falters a little bit, coming up to speed for this restart.
Also interested to see if we hear more reports or rumblings of fluid coming out of that 15 car, as many competitors reported back as the caution is out immediately off of the restart. Not quite able to see why from our vantage point just yet. Wow, and we're getting reports. It's for Carson Lofton jumping the restart. The report is for the 15 to fall to the rear of the field.
And this happened at Franklin County Raceway. No warnings whatsoever by the Smart Series. Joey Braun was the victim there in terms of jumping a restart, and the series penalized him. Now it appears as if it's happening to Carson Lofton in the number 15. He's got a long way down pit road right now. Maybe going to take advantage of this time to come down pit road, possibly take that tire, but bad break for Carson Lofton as he comes to the attention of his team, and James Pike is there.
Right on the head, Bob. They are going to take advantage of the loss of track position, and they are going to go ahead and bolt the tire on. The thinking being, if you're already going to start in the rear, you're going to lose the track position, then this is essentially about as free of a stop as you're going to get. So they're going to take the opportunity to put the extra tire on the right rear, check air pressures, check the car, make sure it's okay. And then Carson Lofton's going to have about 60 laps to try and storm from the back to the front of this field. This is going to be entertaining. This car has been fast all weekend long, so keep your eyes on this machine. seen, it is going to be a furious, frenzied run back to the front. The question will be, just how far can Carson Lofton make it back up the pylon?
Well, thank you so much, James Pike. And the interesting thing here is in terms of being deemed having jumped the restart, there is the Pace-O-Matic restart zone down in turn number 4. It has a couple of green cones on the inside retaining wall. And a lot of these drivers here today, both in the Pro Late models and the modifieds, have been so close to reaching that first cone where they are able to fire as the leader and the command car in terms of the restart. Let's go down to Derek.
Yeah, Bob, after talking with some of the crews down here, especially some of the crews of the guys that are in the first 2 rows, they've been feeling that Carson has been launching a little too early on the restarts. There were a couple of crews that complained over the radio about him taking off too early. It happened not once, not twice, and now the 3rd time Carson Lofton is being called on it.
It's a good point, Derek. And also, I think it's worth mentioning here that we're in a unique situation here where we have so many different series competing here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, along with the signage that is on the wall. You can see where those green cones are on the inside wall to indicate the restart zone here for the Smart Modified Tour, powered by Pace-O-Matic, but also the iRacing restart zone. That's where the Cars Tour restart zone is. It is different than what is painted on the racetrack with those lines with the Echo Park signing and everything. That's pretty much out the window and something that neither series is really adhering to this weekend.
I'm going to poll you two very quickly because we did have a pit cycle there at the 15. I'm going to count this as caution number 6, not the extension of caution number 5. Do we agree?
Sure.
Unofficial.
Yes.
So, all right, we'll wrap up this 6th caution.
We got to ask Justin Mincy.
Well, and now look, we got an entirely new front row. Joey Coulter and championship contender Luke Baldwin. Then we've got Bobby Labonte, and that 20 car of Eddie McCarthy continuing to float his way towards the top. He's going to restart this race outside of row 2.
That's impressive for Eddie McCarthy. A handful of starts for that driver here this year with the Smart Modified Tour, and he is making Wall Stadium look very good here today at North Wilkesboro, but that's what you've seen through time with the history of modified racing at Wilkesboro. Northerners coming down, battling with the Southern Modified contingent, and today we're seeing it here as we're back to green with Coulter and Baldwin. Oh! Norman Newman was their contact. He and Anthony Bello are stuck on the inside of the retaining wall on the front stretch before the start-finish line. Bad break right there for Bello. Bello, two SK Modified wins at Stafford Motor Speedway. Bello hoping next year to do a little super late model racing as well as some modified racing with Paul French in that 12 car.
These cars were running towards the tail end of the pack at the time of that restart. And I will say, watching Joey Coulter be in control of that restart, especially after reviewing the restart zone collectively, that certainly looked like Coulter went almost as early as he could have, and it still looked like it was way later than when Lofton hit the gas on that first time. I feel like the rest of the field was ready for a more tightly packed restart, and it trickled back to Norman Newman and company and created this bit of a mess off turn 4.
We're going to take a look at what happened here with this mess. As Eric was said, take a look at the back of the field, and it looked like maybe Jimmy Wallace got in the back of Norman Newman a little bit, sent him around. It looks like Anthony Bello was just an innocent victim. Here's another look from our speed shot.
Yeah, by that time, they've already gone around. I do believe Newman was restarting, Norman Newman that is, was restarting right behind Paulie Hartwig III, one of our championship contenders. So this could end up being another bit of a near miss for Paulie, and whether or not there was initial contact between himself and Norman Newman before the 11 got turned out of line. We'll get another look at it here. Again, this coming down the front stretch. Watch Paulie Hartwig in the 73. He checks up.
Oh, yes.
Newman then has to lift, and it is Jimmy Wallace who got Newman around.
Indeed it was. Bad break there. Just a reactionary incident coming to the restart.
So Norman Newman now getting pushed back towards the outside retaining wall, so that way he could refire and rejoin the field. But how about that, Blake? That's another bullet dodge for Paulie Hartwig III. He very easily could have been the first one to get kicked out of the line.
And how many is that in this race? That's got to be 3 or 4 instances already. Really close calls there for Hartwig. So if he comes back to win this championship, he will have certainly earned it. And we talked about his composure when we spoke with him a little bit earlier. Cool, calm, and collected despite his age, despite all the pressure, despite all that's on the line today, and continuing to prove that example after example, time and time again, to continue going in this race.
He's still got 69 laps to go.
I was
Only
about to
30
say,
laps
still a
in.
while in.
Hopefully that cat's got 9 lives, because I think he's used up 3 or 4 of them already.
Got a clarification on Carson Lofton and being penalized for having jumped that restart that we saw. He was 0.4 of a second prior to that cone. So it was a considerable difference, and he was in violation of that restart zone and where you're allowed to fire, and that's why he had the penalty.
Yeah, Blake, I think to your point earlier, with the differing restart zones and with the driver pulling double duty of that magnitude, could just be I don't know that Carson's ever done a late model stock car tour type modified doubleheader with 2 different series that have 2 different restart zones. So be fun to watch what he can do from the back of the field as the work continues on the Anthony Bello machine.
Yeah, the old-fashioned way. Let's get the sledgehammer out and just knock whatever needs to be straighter.
Effective and therapeutic.
That's right. Yes,
Covers
it
both
is
bases.
Indeed. A lot more therapeutic than using, 200-mile-an-hour duct tape on to fix some body damage. There you see Jake Crum. They continue to have some issues. Daniel Yates in the number 18 machine, also on pit road, James.
Yep, Yates came down right in front of me. Similar game plan to what Carson Lofton did on that most recent yellow. They changed the right rear tire, they adjusted the air pressure, and then they rotated the left side tire. Same thing that Lofton did on his car. So it seems like everybody's got a similar strategy here, and especially if you're towards the back of the field, you might as well get your service done now while we've got these yellows so you have time to drive back to the front.
Yeah, Pike, and we're still wondering as we hit the Citrus Safe Cleaners choose cone here on the backstretch, we're still wondering if the strategy element from some of the front-running teams is going to be to pit at all. I'm not sure that we're going to fully see that come to play at this point, but then again, the way this race is unfolding, and if the field starts to dwindle a little bit more, the tax you have to pay for giving up a front-running spot for that fresh Hoosier may not be that bad.
That's a great point.
We're going to go at the line here. We've got the 04 outside, 55 out the back, and then the 2 outside of him here, buddy, coming to the green.
Real quickly, Will Lambros inside that 77 machine. How good is that race car, and what do you think your chances are today?
I think our chances are pretty good. Everyone's running real close right now. It's going to be a good race, I think. Our chances are all right. I mean, our car's fast, but we're a little free off. So once we get a chance here for the stage break or, next caution, I think we might try and tighten that up.
Good luck, Will. Will Lambros lining up on the inside of row number 3, coming back to the green flag after another lengthy caution. We've had a rash of cautions right now. Eric's been keeping track of them, but Coulter and Baldwin, Coulter up the racetrack a little bit of a maneuver to try to keep Baldwin at bay. Labonte and McCarthy in that second row.
We still had a lot of cleanup done on this end of the racetrack, and I'm not really sure that it's fully dusted off as Coulter and Baldwin battle for the lead in 3. Coulter trying to win the race, Baldwin trying to win the title. They almost touch off 4.
And here's what's interesting, side by side for the lead here. 31 laps into this one. Coulter takes Baldwin up to the wild blue yonder. Coulter grabs the lead. Baldwin files into second. Baldwin finished 3rd in this race 1 year ago, hoping to win the race and the championship here today.
Here's Brandon Ward, another driver charging up through the field, now inside of Eddie McCarthy to move to 4th.
Brandon Ward has one of the best cars in that iHeartRadio 04 machine here today, up to 4th, and now banging on the back bumper of Bobby Labonte, going to the inside of that cookout machine.
And he stomped on the binders there to avoid contact with Labonte on the approach to turn 1. He ducks back in line, and behind him is McCarthy, then Newman, the next highest running championship contender, ahead of Jack Baldwin in the black 7NY, as Ward tries to size up Labonte again. In fact, Luke Baldwin is kind of bottlenecking this field up at this point. Here comes Labonte down low.
Maybe a little different handling characteristic for that 7VA of Luke Baldwin with Pace-O-Matic on the side of that race car after those rash of cautions. Labonte back to second. Here comes Brandon Ward trying to pick off third from Luke Baldwin in the Pace-O-Matic machine.
And I tell you what, these two restarts between Baldwin and what Hartwig's going through right here. Hartwig got up to 7th on this restart, now starting to fall back a little bit as he got trapped on the outside for a number of laps. And oh, trouble, he avoids another one in turn 4.
Wow, Jeremy Gerstner around in turn number 4 to bring out the caution. Once again, it looks like Norman Newman in the 11 car is up against the inside retaining wall. Trouble for Newman out of Canada here today. The other Newman in the field, Ryan Newman, of course, still okay in the top 10.
And you're right, Blake. Just as we looked up to see that incident unfold, or at least the tail end of it, it was Paulie Hartwig III way out wide trying to avoid the incident. Newman's not going to be able to drive away, but that's another magnificent job for Paulie to keep his championship hopes alive.
Well, he may have drove away from it. I don't know if he totally avoided it, though, but oh my goodness, yes, he did.
Wow. You got to be kidding me. Paulie Hartwig barely surviving another mishap. His championship chances are still alive. That kid, you like the way he talked, his composure. I wonder what he's thinking after that one.
Oh, my goodness. It might take him a few moments for the heart rate to come back down, at least even for all of us. I think Burt Myers, who was the next car behind Paulie, may have had a little bit of a nudge of the left front tire to the rear Nerf bar of Gerstner's car as he was sliding back. One more look at this.
Watch the orange car. You're going to see the 55 of Jeremy Gerstner spin, but watch for the orange car. That's Paulie Hartwig. Barely misses him. Burt Myers doesn't get into him, and Burt Myers unscathed as is Caden Lapsevich in that Factory 39 team. Wow.
He's already thanked God a couple of times. I don't know who else he's going to thank.
Just think of that. Paulie Hartwig certainly blessed here today at Wilkesboro. Wow. Listen, you know, Blake's getting excited here. He's standing up now. We're still sitting down. And we got a long way to go in the Frontier 99 for the Smart Modified Tour at North Wilkesboro Speedway. We will be back here to Wilkesboro.
Welcome back to North Wilkesboro Speedway. The Citrus Safe Choose Cone is on the back straightaway as we are working our 8th caution of the Frontier 99 for the Smart Modified Tour, powered by Pace-O-Matic in their season finale at North Wilkesboro Speedway. This is the second race of 3 on the day. The Cars Tour late model stock cars are waiting in the wings. Coulter, the leader. Let's go down to Derek for an update 1 lap before the restart.
Yeah, right before we go back to the restart, we talked to the Q104 iHeart Radio 04 car of Brandon Ward. Will Spa said the car is getting better and better. They think the cars around them are starting to fade off and fall off a little bit from the accidents and the bumping and banging out there, while their car just keeps getting better and better.
Well, Derek, I think you forgot about Kevin Powell's Foothill Ford dealership on the side of that race car as well. Lots of sponsorship for that NASCAR Modified champion at Bowman Gray Stadium, and he's got a good position right now for this next restart. Coulter Labonte now on the front row, but that 04 machine of Brandon Ward on the inside of row number 2 with Luke Baldwin, the championship competitor, on the outside. Remember, Baldwin trying to back up his championship of 1 year ago. Nice and even restart. This time, will Labonte have the edge? Nope. Joey Coulter grabs the lead. Now here comes Brandon Ward. Ward on the inside, trying to get the edge and up to the wheel of Bobby Labonte. He's able to do that off of turn number 4, but Labonte outmotors him into turn number 1.
Ever since Carson Lofton got popped for that restart violation, the restarts have been so much tighter, and we're reaping the rewards of that laps afterwards as we see the pack still tightly bunched here in this battle for position with Coulter the leader, Labonte able to hold on a second, Brandon Ward in the 04 third, Luke Baldwin the 4th. Here's Eddie McCarthy in the 20 looking to get low, and here's Paulie Hartwig in the 73 and Ryan Newman in the 2. 2 more championship contenders fighting for a top 10 spot.
Ryan Newman right now running in 7th. Paulie Hartwig in the 8th spot. And by the way, I just got clarification from series director Chris Williams. We asked during that caution period via text, hey, will we need another caution in terms of a fuel stop? And he said it's possible. So we're going to keep an eye on that. That was a handful for Bobby Labonte there. Almost lost control of that 38 machine.
Close call there. And now Ward is squeezed to the top side of Labonte. He wants a shot at second, and he's got the outside lane in 1 and 2 to try to make it happen.
Ward on the outside. Look at McCarthy there. McCarthy and Baldwin side by side for position. Baldwin, after a troublesome first part of this race, a little bit stronger here now as we inch towards the halfway point in this race.
By the way, we talked about Carson Lofton being put to the tail end of the field. He is already up to the 11th position, nearly catching our 2 championship competitors that are just behind this battle going on with Eddie McCarthy in the 20 car, almost squeezed into the outside wall by Jack Baldwin.
Baldwin very aggressive in the 7NY. Newman does not know which way to go and has to be a little bit cautious right now, Eric.
Yeah, same with Paulie Hartman the 3rd, who I think is running out of mulligans in this race so far with how close he's been to just about everything that's happened in this race. And that's the fight that won't go away. They're bumping and banging on the approach to turn 1.
You got the Long Island family with Jack Baldwin and the New Jersey Speedster and Eddie McCarthy, 2 hard-nosed racers. Baldwin gets the spot, so move Jack Baldwin up to 5th. Luke Baldwin, his brother, right in front of him.
So Jack is going to hold on to the spot. That will put Luke and Jack in 4th and 5th, respectively. McCarthy back to 6th. 7th, Newman. 8th, Hartwig in trouble. Oh, and that's going to collect a couple of more cars.
Tommy Buzzy in the 5, Anthony Bello in the 12, his teammate Jake Crum in the 1, Karsten D. John Tommaso in the 33, and Jeremy Gerstner in the 55, all involved in this incident with 56 laps to go.
Second incident for Gerstner, I believe second incident for D. John Tommaso after he was involved in the big one in the turn number 1.
Caden Lapsevich in the 39 also involved. Lapsevich started on the point at Caraway Speedway just recently here with the Smart Modified Tour. Lapsevich in that factory 39 team. You got the Edwards family actually operating that team. It's a great story right there. You see some debris up in turn number 2 as well, Blake.
Yeah, we was just looking at that and can imagine that that's kind of around where all of this started off of turn number 2. This is all behind Hartwig in another issue, and my goodness, who missed that?
I think that was Burt Myers.
Yeah.
Man, that was close.
Wow, and it looked like, we'd love to get just another glimpse of that here in a second on our Flow Racing broadcast, but it almost looked like there might have been some contact between Will Lambros in that 77 and the 39 of Caden Lapcevich. Let's take a look at it again. Watch the right-hand side of your screen. There's Lapcevich and the 77 of Lambros, and it appears possible contact is what put Lapcevich up against the wall.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Goodness.
Oh, so close for the ace, Burt Myers, escaping that one barely here at Wilkesboro.
And there's just a little strip of grass that's down there as well that you go all the way down to the apron. There's just a little bit of grass that he probably had to avoid as well. So that is spectacular right there.
Going to tip our cap to Jimmy Wallace as well as he got through there. Here's Anthony Bello. He's out of the car explaining his scenario of how that wreck unfolded. His race is going to end here on lap number 43. This is caution number 9. And again, that's counting the extension of a caution period on lap number 30, where Carson Lofton was put to the rear. But as we saw, Lofton was able to avoid that wreck. He's picked up a few more spots here. So Carson getting a little bit back closer to where he was running at the time that penalty was issued and levied. One of the drivers involved in this crash, Anthony Bello, is with Derek.
Yeah, Anthony Bello just stepped out of the Paul French number 12, hopped over the wall. Can you tell us from your point of view, could you see what happened out there?
Yeah, just racing in the back, normal racing in the back. I just got to thank Paul French and the crew. You know, they give me a hell of a race car, and I just can't get through the mess. And unfortunately, it ended our day here. But we had a really quick car all weekend. Really didn't show it. But it's a big props to these guys, Robert Yates Racing, Troyer Race Cars. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. And just thank you to everyone who came out and helped this weekend. Fortunately, this wasn't our weekend.
Do you think some guys are getting overly aggressive out there?
Well, I mean, can't make it past lap 43, and I don't know how long it's been, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, but it's just flat out racing in the back. You know, there's probably some people who shouldn't be here. That's all I got to say.
You can also hear the frustration in Anthony Bello's voice. He knew he came into this race with a very fast race car, but unfortunately he finds himself parked on pit road.
And there's Burt Myers out of his race car, the Pinnacle Financial CitraSafe Grill Cleaners machine, and Burt assessing the damage, maybe a little bit of contact, who knows, with some car during this mishap. CitraSafe Grill Cleaners and Carolina Drilling, the drone sponsors here today for our Smart Modified Tour coverage. Actually trying to get a hold of Burt on the radio, and his spotter just said, hey, he's out of the car. And we see that shot right there as they assess the damage on the number 1. It's been a tough year for Burt Myers. We're expecting him always to be in contention for the title. He has not been. Ironically, I could not believe it. He led a lap last week at Tri-County, and that is the first lap he's led all season long. That is unlike Burt Myers.
Yeah, of course. And I got to say, Blake, you were very complimentary of the visual appeal of this car after the redesign that they did for this season. That car pops. Here's Tom Buzzy, who has been involved in a couple of incidents here so far today. For more, we tossed it back down trackside to Derek Pernasiglio.
Yeah, the number 5 Alpine Partners machine is parked on pit road. Anthony Bello coming over to talk to Tom Buzzy. They were involved in it out there. Doesn't look like it's getting too heated. As far as the cars go, Tom Buzzy's car looks worse than Anthony Bello's is, but they are going to be able to get that car fixed. They've got a tire over here. They're going to try to put a left front back on and also reconnect the steering arm to the spindle.
So you see Tom Buzzy and Anthony Bello chatting about what happened coming off of turn number 2. And by the way, I got to give a shout out to Tommy Buzzy's son, Ben, who has been running on the dirt at Millbridge, has been running quarter midget racing all over the Southeast. Ben has won a ton of races this year. So a shout out as the Buzzy family racing tradition continues.
We took the CitraSafe shoes the last time through, and Joey Coulter, who's been in command of this race, has elected the inside, but a new front row starter in Brandon Ward, who, as we've talked about and Derek reported earlier, very happy with the way that car is performing as we start to cast some shadow from turn 4 down the front stretch right to the middle of turns 1 and 2. The handling characteristics of these race cars continuing to evolve as we start to enter a portion of the program where the track temperature is going to vary across the board.
This one's going to be an interesting restart. with Coulter on the inside and a very fast 0-4 machine of Brandon Ward on the outside. Can Brandon Ward get that momentum and keep it through turns 1 and 2 to actually get the lead? We'll find out in just about a lap here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Labonte, Baldwin, teammates at that SNS Racing stable. Right behind that in the second row, Eddie McCarthy in the number 20. He's right there in the thick of things still. Jack Baldwin, it's been a heated battle between the two of those, rubbing tires a little bit. And then there's Paulie Hartwig and Ryan Newman, the championship competitors, while they see Luke Baldwin a little bit out ahead of them.
And as you called it, Blake, Will Lambros, Carson Lofton, your top 10 with 56 to go as we get set to restart.
They fire in the restart zone, Coulter, but here comes Brandon Ward. Good restart for that 0-4 down into 1. Brandon Ward, will he grab the lead down the backstretch? He's got the advantage on Joey Coulter. Luke Baldwin trying to come with him, but it's Brandon Ward to the lead. Lap number 44 of 99 here at North Wilkesboro.
It's going to get Ward out in front. Here's Luke Baldwin in the 7, up top on Coulter. Coulter has a slight slip off of turn 2. He's going to lose second spot, maybe third. Labonte ducks to the top lane. Here comes that 38 car, the 2000 Cup champion. Coulter real sideways on the bottom of the racetrack.
And by the way, second in the championship points, maybe shifting around is Hartwig the third and Newman side by side for the 7th position. Tucked on back, it looks like Newman gets the better of that battle for now.
But here comes Carson Lofton. Look at him penalized just a few laps ago for jumping a restart. Came down pit road, took that right rear tire, and now Lofton rocketing through the field. Lofton right now battling for 7th.
Going to make the pass on Ryan Newman as they come off of turn number 2, putting him up to 7. Next on his gun sights, Jack Baldwin in the 7MY. Top 5, just 2 cars ahead for Carson Lofton and Eddie McCarthy. Newman now has to concede on the approach to the first corner.
Plenty of laps still to go in this one. Lambros looking to the inside of Newman. Newman and Hartwig losing ground in the championship fight midway through this race at North Wilkesboro. It's Brandon Ward over Luke Baldwin, Bobby Labonte, Joey Coulter now back to 4th, and Eddie McCarthy still lurking in the 5th spot. There's the top 4. About a car length and a half between each position in the top 4. The intervals at the line, but it's Brandon Ward hoping to pick up his 7th victory in his career in the Smart Modified Tour.
And Luke Baldwin doing exactly what he needs to do right now in similar fashion as to how he accomplished the mission just 1 year ago. No championship contenders behind him, at least not in his immediate distance through the rearview mirror, leaving a little bit of separation between the car in front, the car behind. Not the case in that battle for 3rd as Coulter had a peak on Labonte, but couldn't make anything happen before the approach to turn 3.
And getting to a point in this run where everybody, I think every car and every driver that's felt really confident in their race car, this is the type of run that they've been longing for, that they've been waiting for. If they feel like they have a race car that handles really, really well, we're starting to see drivers that do have that race car, that do have the confidence in that long run pace starting to show right now. Baldwin and, I mean, especially Carson Lofton, my goodness, is that 15 car fast.
He is indeed fast. Eric Brennan and I were just watching that as you were talking. Carson Lofton on the move, trying to pull up to the back bumper of Jack Baldwin. This is for the 6th spot with the 15 going after it. And I wonder, Eric, you know modified racing very well. Could Carson Lofton's penalty and the fact that he came down pit road change the strategy for other teams that might have been thinking about staying out for the rest of this race?
The only thing that I'm struggling to realize when it comes to that 15 car is he makes the pass here on Jack Baldwin. How much of this speed is that new tire versus how much of this speed is that car? I mean, that car has been a rocket ship so far today. Is that new right rear tire really helping to make the difference to charge back up to the front, or is this what the Shady Grady 15 had in it all day long anyway?
I mean, remember, everybody was talking about him at the opening laps of this race, how good that 15 car is, and Brandon Ward had a little bit of a slip up coming off of turn number 2, and that has allowed Luke Baldwin and the rest of the top 5 to kind of gather him up a little bit.
Yeah, that car looked to labor a little bit off of turn 2 a lap ago. Did so again here off turn 4. Luke had a look to the inside. We'll watch the 0-4 car on corner exit. Another slight slip of the right rear when he got back to the power off turn 2. Luke has another look inside.
I don't know if he's got a delay with the throttle there or if that car might be just a little bit tight, delaying him from getting back to the throttle, but we'll keep an eye on that. See how that car drifts it high, and then he kind of slows up coming off the corner. Might be a tight condition now for the 04 of Brandon Ward.
Going to pull Labonte back into the mix. Going to pull Joey Coulter back into the mix. Eddie McCarthy's not that far behind. And Carson Lofton may get a little bit of a freebie here as this front group continues to accordion back together. There's Lofton already entering the frame. It'll be 40 to go next time by as Baldwin hunts the lead.
Championship competitor Luke Baldwin going for the lead here at North Wilkesboro. 40 laps to go in this one. And Brandon Ward able to keep him at bay, at least for now. You got to wonder, Baldwin, is he nervous or is he ready to go after the win, even though he's battling for a championship?
And you can look and see the line that Ward has to take into 3 and 4. It enters really low, and I think you mentioned a tight condition. He can't keep it pinned all the way down to that apron through the corner, so kind of rides up, takes kind of the middle lane center off, and right now Baldwin just a little more cut at this end of the racetrack, although he'll go high, and now he may lose the second spot to Bobby Labonte.
Whoa, gonna have to take a look at that one again to see exactly what happened with Luke Baldwin, but he slowed up in a hurry, and that's allowed the 38, that cookout machine of Labonte, to try to pull even, not gonna be able to do it, and that's allowed Coulter to go on the outside of Labonte.
Coulter trying to get back up to what would be the 3rd position as they work their way around one of the cars that just came off the pit lane. Melissa Fifield was down on the pit lane under green flag conditions, now falling a lap off the leaders. Labonte gets through cleanly. Next up is McCarthy. Carson Lofton. Look at Labonte trying to work that top lane in 3 and 4 to get another good run on Coulter to get back to a podium spot.
I feel like everybody's trying to feel each other out in the top 5 or 6 race cars. By the way, Carson Lofton, here comes Coulter, looked to the inside momentarily on Luke Baldwin. Labonte looked to go to the outside, but Carson Lofton has caught Eddie McCarthy for 5th. What a battle we have here from 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the Smart Modified Tour as Ward continues to slow off of almost every corner.
Labonte got a little bit too high in 1 and 2, but did not lose any ground. Here's the battle for the 5th position on the right side of your picture as Coulter lunges to the inside on Luke Baldwin for 2nd.
Great battle. This is going on all over this racetrack, and especially, you've mentioned it, Bob, a couple of times, especially down the back straightaway where you can see in the middle of the straightaway, that's where Baldwin is making up so much time. Joey Coulter so strong off of turn 4. He always gets a run into 1 and 2, but Baldwin perhaps the most momentum he's carried off the corner that time. And we very quickly click some laps off here, 33 to go.
And you got to think, if a caution were to happen here soon, a lot of teams would have a big decision to make, whether to come down pit road and take that tire or not, thinking that Carson Lofton has now moved into the top 5 in the 15 car. Lofton, fastest lap on the racetrack last time by. Baldwin pulled up to the back bumper of the 04 of Ward, but Ward able to keep him at bay right now. But how long will that continue with Baldwin and Coulter looking pretty strong?
One other thing that may aid that decision by the race teams, we're already down to about 15 cars. Oh no, Lofton! Lofton's off the pace on the main straightaway after the charge from the back of the pack to the top 5.
Trouble for Carson Lofton, who looked like he had the best car here today. It looks like his day is coming to an end with 30 laps to go in the Frontier 99.
And the point that I was about to make, we're down to about 14 cars on the lead lap, so if a caution was to come out, you wouldn't fall all that far back, but the laps are clicking off really quickly, and there's the yellow. I guess we're about to find out what these teams want to do.
It looked like Karsten DeJohn Tomaso might have slowed on the racetrack, as was Carson Lofton. He's headed to his trailer right there in the middle of North Wilkesboro Speedway. Carson Lofton's day, after dominating early on and charging back through the field after a penalty, is done.
Well, the young man who has been very impressive in just about every vehicle that he has gotten his hands on ever since his racing career started has certainly ridden a wave, or I should say rode a wave of emotions all throughout the day. And here's our answer. Pits are open, and here they come.
And speaking of a wave of cars now coming down pit road with 30 to go in this one to make changes. And now with Carson Lofton out of the race, it looks like nobody really is going to stay out in terms of contenders here for the victory in the Frontier 99. Ward, Baldwin, Coulter, Labonte, and Moore head down pit road. They will take on their fresh tire, which is so important at this stage of the race, as well as making sure they top off the fuel tank as well to get them to the end of this distance.
That includes Newman and Hartwig III. They elected to run on the same strategy as Luke Baldwin this time by.
Let's go down to Derek Bernasiglio.
Well, all of the leaders are in right now. Brandon Ward in the Kevin Powell's Foothill Ford sponsored number 04 is taking on that right rear tire. They're also making a right rear suspension adjustment on that race car. The 02 of Joey Coulter is also in. He is doing a tire swap on the left side, also taking a brand new right rear. And then, of course, you can see back over here to the 04 pit of Brandon Ward. The crew is going to work. Kenny Minter, the tire changer on that car, going after the rear tires as they're getting ready to swap the left sides on the Q104.104 machine.
Thanks, Derek. And you see similar work going on for Paulie Hartwig III, taking advantage of this caution with 30 laps to go. Caution number 10 by my unofficial record books and stat keeping. We'll validate things with our buddy Justin Mincy with the Smart Modified Tour at the end of the night. But this is certainly going to create an interesting dynamic for the end of this race. And I am looking about to see if anybody did stay out. Daniel Yates is the last car on the racetrack, and I was showing Yates as on the lead lap when this caution came out. So Yates may very well inherit the race lead here.
So Daniel Yates, whose daughter has been winning in champ cars, go-karts. Ava's doing a good job there, playing softball as well. Looks like he's going to be the leader of this race. There's Jack Baldwin in the 7NY. Baldwin has rode through the field after some trouble early in the race, solidly in the top 10.
Let's go to James Pike for an update on Carson Lofton.
I did just chat with Carson Lofton. I asked him what happened to the thing, and he said about 2 laps before he slowed down on the front straightaway, he felt the motor start to miss, and he realized what was going to happen given what's befallen so many other drivers in this race. So he decided to pull it in before the engine damage got any worse. So now he's mentally got to regroup quickly because he's also running for Nelson Motorsports in the late model stock car race that will follow this. So quick turnaround for Carson Lofton and not a lot of time to digest what was a really great run that it's not going to get the finish it probably deserved for where that car had been running all day. He's just got to turn around, go hop at the 22 and see what he can do in 125 laps later this evening.
You're right, Pike. The nightcap is coming up about 30 laps from now as many of the drivers who came down to the pit lane for service re-enter the racetrack to form up what is going to be a thrilling final sprint to the finish to close out the 2025 Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic, a ride on the elevator to victory lane at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and a season-long championship hangs in the balance of these final 30 laps on what has been a tricky and treacherous and lightning-fast racetrack with the sun continuing to set, conditions continuing to evolve, and so much more to come.
Let's try to get a word with Luke Baldwin, one of our championship competitors. Luke, how was that car before the pit stop, and did you make any changes?
I think we were pretty good there. I knew we were going to be better as a long-run car, and it finally went our way. And I think we were better. Just the 04 was just doing a really good job at making me not be able to pass it, so just had to be careful there. We'll see how it plays out with the right rear, but yeah, I don't know. We changed a little bit just as we always do, but we'll see.
What is this track like? Is it changing throughout this race, Luke?
A little bit.
Thank you so much to Luke Baldwin behind the wheel of that 7VA, the Pace-O-Matic machine, and there is the CitraSafe Choose Cone on the racetrack here at North Wilkesboro.
So I was correct in my assessment that Yates staying out. He was a lead lap car. He is the leader. He's picked the outside lane. And then we've got Brandon Ward, who was leading at the time of the caution, who picked the bottom. For an update on the stops, back to Derek.
Yeah, a lot of the leaders came in, and they came in for that brand new right rear. The 04, the 2, and the 02 all took a right rear. They also swapped the left sides for stagger adjustment. For the number 02 of Joey Coulter, they freed the car up a little bit. And for the 2 of Ryan Newman, they said the car is now starting to level off. That free feeling is going away.
So as we inch closer to the conclusion of this one, still 30 laps to go with the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic, we get ready to talk about some late model stock cars for the ZMAX Cars Tour as well. They are lined up towards the turn 1 area of the infield, and we will have another championship battle to settle after this Smart Modified Tour race. So don't go away after this one. On Flow Racing, we have all 3 championship battles here today. Coming to the green flag, Daniel Yates. His daughter's birthday is today. Happy birthday, Ava. On the inside of him is Brandon Ward, but it's Daniel Yates who is in control in the Pace-O-Matic restart zone of this restart. Brandon Ward just inches out ahead of the 18 that Jerry Hunt Supercenter machine for Daniel Yates. Luke Baldwin into second, and oh my, Eddie McCarthy gets into the back bumper of Bobby Labonte with Daniel Yates on those older tires, a little bit of a jam car.
Yeah, Yates was trying to get down to the bottom, and Labonte had a bit of a run. McCarthy gave him a nudge. No harm, no foul there. Yates back to 5th. It's going to be Labonte up to 4th. Will Lambros now looking to the low side on Yates, and the approach to 3. They almost come together.
Lambros backs off the throttle, trying to position himself to move by Daniel Yates. Hard to keep your track position when you have an older right rear tire for Daniel Yates, but he's doing a good job manipulating that number 18 machine.
McCarthy looking to try to follow Lambros through on the bottom, and Ryan Newman and Paulie Hartwick the 3rd. I feel like the 2 and the 73 have been around each other pretty much all race long. However, they have not been able to get up to Luke Baldwin just yet to try to make the championship battle a little bit more compelling on the racetrack. Luke's still in full command there. Here comes Newman to the bottom side of Yates to try to pick up a spot. Also trying to work over McCarthy as they now move into... Oh, wow!
Big hit there for Newman. Is he going to be able to make the corner? He is. That was a tough spot to get hit.
Good car control by Ryan Newman after that hit. He finally moves by Daniel Yates. Paulie Hartwig now trapped behind that. Jack Baldwin on the inside of Hartwig. Hartwig directly behind the slower Daniel Yates here with 25 laps to go. Wow, precarious position right now for Paulie Hartwig. He's got to exude patience to still have a shot in this one in terms of the championship.
Still kind of trapped to the outside as Jack Baldwin and Yates almost come together. Back towards the front of the field, Luke Baldwin with a great diamond off the corner to battle Brandon Ward for the lead.
Best run of the day. Luke Baldwin to the inside of Brandon Ward, trying to capture the lead here in the late going of the Frontier 99 for the Smart Modified Tour. Baldwin, 3 wins so far this year, but Brandon Ward so good on the outside. It's Baldwin, championship contender, to the point here at North Wilkesboro.
Trying to fill the void on the bottom of Brandon Ward as well, but just like what we saw in the Cars Tour Pro Late Model race, even though the battle is not at the forefront of his mind, he wants to win the war, of course, in the Drivers' Championship, but Luke Baldwin proving he wants to win the race. Here comes Ward back to the inside.
Ward took a peek, couldn't quite get there. You were anxious and up on your seat, Blake.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot on the line here for Baldwin. Again, he got to celebrate an owner's title, but he had to do that on pit road. He wants to ride the elevator at some point throughout this weekend and go back-to-back, not only in Smart Modified Tour championships, but to be able to secure 2 championships at this racetrack in one day. What a memorable day that would be, and he's 20 laps away from doing it.
And Eric, this seems a little bit strange. It looks like that tight condition. Wow. Little bumper tag right there. The 04 of Ward had to check up. Just as I was about to say, it looks like the tight condition has gone away a little bit since Brandon Ward has gotten behind Luke Baldwin.
It seems like if any of these drivers have any sort of misstep running this close together, the accordion effect could be massive, and that's what we saw about a lap ago. Is now again Ward to the low side on Baldwin for the lead. Labonte's still working over Coulter, and the laps are going by at a blistering pace. Here's Ward again with a charge off turn 4.
Brandon Ward, best charge he's had here since moving back to second. Says no go this time around, but Brandon Ward right in the thick of things still, even after losing this lead.
That's Jimmy Wallace entering the pit road. He was issued a black flag, but we stay green.
Stay green on the racetrack. Will Lambros, by the way, the red and white car that you saw a glimmer of in the shot just a moment ago. He's in the 5th spot right now in that 77, but all of our focus on the top 4 right here with a dynamic battle.
Caution.
Late in the going.
Caution is out. I believe this will be our 11th yellow of the race. Not been able to identify a root cause from our vantage point. This will be caution number 11 in this race with 18 laps to go. And the report that we're getting from trackside is that Jimmy Wallace, the black flag came out because that car was dropping fluid on the racetrack. So the caution is for fluid on the racetrack, presumably from Jimmy Wallace's machine, after they were trying to get that car to the pit lane for a couple of laps. So fluid will be the root cause for the yellow flag flying in this race for the 11th time. And the track crew has been exceptionally busy here today, especially when it comes to these Tour-type modifieds with the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic. We have seen several cars have motor issues or mechanical issues, and now with about 18 laps to go in this race, with the top 4 seemingly running in close proximity to one another, at the time of that caution, that top 5 was separated by only a half second. They were all pretty much on top of each other. Now they're going to have to figure out this racetrack with Speedy dry down on it again.
Ryan Newman had a close call just moments ago. Ryan, what's been going on from the behind the wheel of that number 2 machine? Ryan Newman, Bob Dillner in the booth. How is that number 2 car right now?
With you, sir, a lot. We just need to go out. See what we can do.
Ryan Newman on pit road right now because of the fluid on the racetrack. Having a little trouble with the frequency right there for Ryan Newman. We'll get back to him in just a moment. Eddie McCarthy right in front of him and Jack Baldwin behind him. But that close call for Ryan Newman with Daniel Yates, man, that was a great move by Newman to hold on to that race car.
There was, and again, they're going to bring the cars down pit road to allow this crew the freedom to have free reign of the racetrack for fluid that was put down. Wallace was on the inside groove and went down the bottom of the racetrack on the back straightaway, but plenty of cleanup left here in this one before we click off the last 18 laps for the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic. Luke Baldwin looking to tie up the win and a championship here at North Wilkesboro.
Welcome back to North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, the finale for the Smart Modified Tour with the running of the 99-lap race here today, sponsored by Frontier. We appreciate you for hanging in there with us. Several blown engines here today have slowed the pace of the Smart Modified Tour, powered by Pace-O-Matic. I am Bob Diller. Alongside of me is Eric Brennan and Blake McCandless. We're having a good time during this broadcast, despite some of the delays. But at the same time, and I know social media can go crazy at these times, but really it's been because of these blown engines and the long delays to clean up the racetrack, not necessarily because of the racing action on the track.
Yeah, but I think Blake made a great point earlier where we found out very early that this racetrack normally tests your patience, your talent, your ability, but it really has been testing these modified teams. And what is the biggest track that the Smart Tour visits? Obviously, we've been seeing power plants be tested to limits that we had not seen before. And I would say thank goodness that we are in such good hands with everybody here at SMI North Wilkesboro Speedway. The cleanup crews have been very efficient. We haven't seen any consequences from the cleanup efforts because all of this track crew team that is assembled here are professionals. They know exactly what they're doing. But it's still an added layer for all of these teams. For more, we'll go down trackside to Derek Pernasiglio.
Thank you very much, Eric Brennan. And yes, talk to the teams that are running in the top 4 right now and got an assessment of what was going on. Luke Baldwin took a right rear tire. They swapped left sides. They also made a track bar adjustment. That's what made that car so much faster. The 04 of Brandon Ward talked to Will Spa. He says the adjustment they made may have been a little too much. The car's got a little too much rear grip in it right now, so it's a tick tight. The 02 of Joey Coulter said that they went up in the right direction with their changes that they did on the car. They did a right rear tire. They also did a track bar adjustment on that car. They said they need about 1 lap to get the car going and for the tires to start to come in. Then Bobby Labonte, who runs in 4th in number 38, took a right rear tire, swapped the left sides, and made a track bar adjustment.
And Derek, while you were giving us that report, we were watching Paulie Hartwig, one of the championship competitors, on pit road, and it looks like they're swinging for the fences right now, doing whatever they can to make this car better for Paulie. Some big changes on the chassis in terms of a chassis adjustment for that 73 during that pit stop.
And I think what you were talking about earlier, Eric, coming into play right here, that the fact that we've kind of run to a point where if you're still on the lead lap, you're pretty much still in the top 14, almost in the top 10. So I think if you're Paulie Hartwig at the 3rd at this point, you're pretty much in a position where you have nothing to lose, might as well try something, and even the penalty for doing so isn't so much of a penalty anyways.
And a lot could still happen here. I mean, granted, I do praise the track crew for their cleanup efforts, and they're being very diligent down in turns 1 and 2. But as we were talking about earlier, the situation with Jimmy Wallace and where that fluid ended up, it was mostly towards the bottom of the racetrack. Most of the oil downs we saw before that were up towards the top of the racetrack. So that, along with the shade continuing to start to cascade its way more towards the backstretch, plus the fact that this is now going to be a bit of a shorter expected run to the finish line, we could see things get a little bit more hair-raising up towards the front of the field, and it could just be the seas parting ways for Paulie, who's been able to dodge every bullet that's come his way so far.
And I don't want to get too much into the weeds or get ahead of ourselves here when talking about the late model stock cars, but during that long break, I reached out to a couple of drivers that are going to hop in their cars a little bit later, and after watching this race and seeing everything that's going down with all the speedy drive that's in 1 and 2, with the fact that all this rubber's laid down, and the additional fact now that all day long, what were we saying earlier? It was going to be a day race. Well, that may not be the case by the time we roll the late model stocks for 125 laps later. And there are some drivers who are very concerned about what that means and what they prepared for going into this race.
And there are the late model stock cars of the ZMAX Cars Tour. They are right in the middle of the racetrack in between turns 1 and 2, basically with that pit area. Landon Lewis in that white, orange, and blue number 29 battling for the championship with the number 88 white car of Connor Hall. 13 points separate those two going into this finale here today at North Wilkesboro.
Yeah, these drivers have been on pins and needles, not just all day watching this race unfold, but, I mean, we are almost to the point where we're 24 hours removed from their qualifying session. We're almost going to start this race about a full day from when they set the field as we come to the Citrus Safe Cleaners Choose Cone on the back straightaway. And the current pace setter and race leader Luke Baldwin has picked the bottom. And just as that caution flag came out, this front four that is going to make up these first two rows, they all were so close in lap times, in proximity. Curious how this restart and caution shakes up this race for this final run, because right now, Baldwin, as well as Ward, as well as Coulter and Labonte, they all look so even before that yellow flag came out.
So let's set the stage right now. 18 laps to go in this 99-lap affair for the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic. Luke Baldwin, one of the championship competitors, is in the lead of this race in the 7VA, that yellow and black machine. A little bit further back on the outside of row number 4 for this restart is Ryan Newman in the number 2 machine. He too one of the championship competitors, as is the car that starts behind him, the orange 73 of Paulie Hartwig. One guy that would like to steal the spotlight here today on the outside of the front row, Brandon Ward, who has led laps in this race, going to challenge Luke Baldwin for the lead in the Pace-O-Matic restart zone. 13 cars on the racetrack. Baldwin on the bottom, grabs that lead once again. A big slip up again by Bobby Labonte. We've seen that a time or two with him on the inside groove.
That's going to open the door for Lambros and Ryan Newman on the outside lane. Move Will Lambros up a spot. Newman almost got pinched into the wall as Labonte tried to come back by.
Ryan Newman on the outside of Labonte picks up the spot, so Newman back into the top 5 right now, right behind the red and white car, the 77 of Will Lambros. So Newman going to be on the charge here late in the going with 16 laps to go to try to vie for this championship.
Don't look now, but Paulie Hartwig, the third, with those changes, with those adjustments, made up several positions on the opening part of this restart. He's gotten up to the 7th position. So he is on the march right now. Is it enough here in the last 15 laps to try to make a run at this title?
It's go time here for the Smart Modified Tour Championship. Baldwin leads the championship leader of this race now. Ryan Newman second in the points as if they were running right now. He is a couple spots ahead of Paulie Hartwig in that orange 73. Right behind Bobby Labonte is Hartwig.
Hartwig still working over on Labonte. Meanwhile, the driver that those two are chasing continues to parade this field. Luke Baldwin now opening up a healthy advantage. In fact, the last time around, Luke Baldwin ran the fastest lap of the race, and he backed it up with another quick lap time. He's extending that race lead when it matters most.
Baldwin doing what he wanted to do in the Cars Tour Pro Late Model race. Won the Owners' Championship, wanted to win the race as well, was beaten by Keelan Harvick late in the going, but here he's in control of this race and now by a considerable margin over Brandon Ward in second in that black and red car.
Gap was about a half a second, and on that last lap, not only did Luke run the fastest lap of the race, the top 4 all ran their personal best lap, as it is certainly go time.
All eyes on Ryan Newman, riding in 5th. That shitty Coolers machine. He's had a great year, 3 wins, but he'll feel like he comes up a little bit short if he's not able to grab a couple of spots here and challenge Baldwin for the lead. Baldwin finished 3rd in this race 1 year ago. Paulie Hartwig, a couple of crate modified wins here years ago, but this is first venture in a tour type modified run at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Right now, Hartwig in the 8th spot, Eddie McCarthy moving by him.
Paulie, too, also clicking off his fastest laps of the race. So obviously starting to see how much speed this track is picking up as the sun continues to set behind the main grandstands here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. But time appears to be running out, not only for the likes of Paulie Hartwig III and Ryan Newman, but perhaps for the rest of the field. It is 8 laps to go, and Luke Baldwin is driving away. Best battle right now starting to shape up is for second, but it is 3/4 of a second, the advantage that Luke has been able to open up, and he is not letting off another fastest lap of the race that time by.
Luke Baldwin in a similar but different position than he was in the Pro Late Model race, leading late in the race, but he's got the gap on second that he didn't have over Keelan Harvick.
Well, and what did we hear earlier when Lofton had the lead, that he was just sitting back and managing, and I think Luke Baldwin was kind of proving right now with some of the laps that he's turning and continuing to pull away that perhaps he was doing just the same. I mean, just look at the fact it's about the entire length of the back straightaway that Luke has been able to build up an advantage in just a couple of laps. This time around, 5 to go.
Got to be frustrating for Ryan Newman. Coulter goes to the inside, trying to get by the 0-4 of Brandon Ward, but Ward has been a master of that outside groove to keep drivers behind him here today.
I think the one thing that Luke doesn't want to see is a potential another yellow flag, because a restart at this point of the race would be all-out chaos. Lambros trying to fend off Newman for that spot. Look at Newman trying to dust up the outside edge of the groove in 1 and 2. And here comes Coulter again to the inside of Brandon Ward for second. Nothing there.
He's done that a couple of times on Brandon Ward, but Ward slips up a little bit coming off of turn number 4. That car sideways. Coulter not able to take advantage, at least not yet. Ryan Newman trying everything he can to gain spots and close in on that championship, but not able to do it. Lambros took a shot at Coulter.
This is all now going on over a second and a half. Now 2 seconds behind Baldwin as Coulter and Ward almost touch. Newman way up top. This battle for second is unbelievable. Hard contact there.
Newman almost into the wall. He's going to look for third. He's going to look for second, but this is all happening well behind Luke Baldwin, who takes the white flag.
Luke Baldwin off of turn number 2. A big advantage over a battle for second between Brandon Ward, Ryan Newman up to third, and Joey Coulter. Luke Baldwin will win the race and the war today here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. He is now a 2-time champion of the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic. What a run for Baldwin, the winner at North Wilkesboro. Ryan Newman, a valiant effort by that championship competitor. He pulls alongside of Luke Baldwin and congratulates the young gun here today. Neil Cantor, the crew chief, celebrating. Phil Stefanelli, the car builder. Derek Pernasiglio is down trackside with the crew chief.
Well, for the second year in a row, we get to talk to Neil Cantor, a young crew chief, young driver. You guys put it all together again. What were the changes that you made to make that car come alive? Because I know you didn't want to tell me when I asked you earlier.
Yeah, you know, you got to play your cards close to your chest, right? Man, what a job by Luke Baldwin. Track bar adjustment right there, and got the stagger right on the pit stop, and man, just what a great driver. The kid's the best.
We'll see you in Victory Lane.
Thanks.
Neil Cantor and Luke Baldwin go back-to-back in the Smart Modified Tour, Bob.
What an effort by Luke Baldwin and this Bill Stanley and Hermie Sadler-owned team here today. Congratulations to the Senator and Hermie. They are champions again of the Smart Modified Tour, and now the reverse victory lap for Luke Baldwin. Something he wasn't able to do for Rick Ware Racing. Grab the win and the Owners' Championship here today with the Smart Modified Tour. He grabs the championship and the victory, and now he'll get the ride, Blake, up the elevator, up the lift into Victory Lane here, that coveted Victory Lane at North Wilkesboro.
October 18th, 2025. That is a day that Luke Baldwin will never forget. All that he was able to accomplish here this evening and this afternoon. And he gets to cap it off doing something for the first time in riding the elevator.
His dad, Tommy Baldwin, in the gray shirt down there to congratulate him. Baldwin has had his eye on the prize all season long. He was able to grab that championship 1 year ago with a third-place effort, but Eric, this one's going to be extra special. To do it once is awesome. To do it twice and win in the championship event, ain't nothing beats that.
And I got to tell you, Luke has displayed all day long his desire to accomplish the task at hand, as you see Carson Lofton coming over to offer up his congratulations as well. But obviously, wanting to win that owner's title over on the Cars Tour side for Rick Ware, wanting to win this driver's title over here with the Smart Modified Tour powered by Pace-O-Matic. But the desire for Luke to want to win the race was evident and present throughout all 100 laps in the Pro race and all 99 laps in the Smart Modified race. Mission accomplished on both fronts here in the Modified. Not a bad day's work, though. Second, first, 2 championships. May want to throw him in a late model stock car. See what we can do here tonight.
I was just going to say that. Does somebody need a relief driver today? Because Baldwin, that batting average, pretty darn good here at North Wilkesboro on the triple header championship day in the foothills of North Carolina. There is the lift. There's the shot. The honor now that Luke Baldwin has of riding the lift into Victory Lane at the famed North Wilkesboro Speedway. You got to wonder what he's feeling. Calm, cool, and collected all weekend long, not showing any nervousness, no butterflies whatsoever, just focused on this championship and focused on the win here today. And his car, Blake, was the best when it mattered. After that pit stop, they made some changes, and it paid off.
It absolutely came to life. And, you know, Carson Lofton, he had the car of the day. And I would say that this 7BA, as soon as they came down and made those changes, it matched what we saw out of that 15 car. Just an awesome day for the Baldwin family.
How about Rick Ware coming in to offer up his congratulations? Let's not forget, Rick's got a cup car racing tomorrow at Talladega.
Yeah.
He's still hanging out here to see how the rest of the evening was going to go for Luke. He's got that owner's title, and he's celebrating the driver's title with Luke as well.
And I think that high five, even with it being behind the wheel of the race car, was probably better than what we saw yesterday.
It was indeed. So in the camera shot there, not on the lift, but going to be walking up the stairs momentarily, is the Senator Bill Stanley, one of the car owners on Luke Baldwin's machine. There is Rob Blount taking some footage of Luke coming into victory lane off the lift with his team. Neil Cantor among those, the crew chief, pushing that car into victory lane today for Luke Baldwin, one of the rising young stars of our sport. And we saw two good ones grace victory lane at North Wilkesboro today in the ZMAX Car Store Pro Late Models, Keelan Harvick, and now Luke Baldwin getting the job done in the Smart Modifieds. So Baldwin going to be able to celebrate down here today. He's probably anxious to climb out of his car. Let's go down to Derek Pernasiglio.
Baldwin is getting smiles and handshakes all around. And he is getting ready to climb out of the car. It was 2 years ago today that Tommy Baldwin rang the bell that he was cancer-free, and today Baldwin Strong comes out with its second Smart Modified Tour Championship. Luke Baldwin secured the Cars Tour Owners Championship earlier in the day. Come on over here, Luke. He's gonna get some hugs all around first. What a special day for the Baldwin family. It was 2 years ago that your dad rang the bell that he was cancer-free. You win the championship for the owners in the Cars Tour, now the championship in the Smart Modified Tour. This is just a storybook day for you, isn't it?
Yeah, what a day it was. Man, this race car was unreal after the stop there. We made all the right calls, and I don't think I could ask for anything better. I had no complaints. So, man, we worked so hard this past weekend and the test here, because honestly we didn't know how good we were going to be, and man, thank God we were able to put it in the right spot. The race was long, but yeah, I knew we'd have a good long run car, so I just needed laps and laps and laps. We put the tire on, made the right call, and man, this PSR machine was on rails. Can't thank Pace-O-Matic and Hermie Sadler, Bill Stanley enough for giving me the opportunity to come out here and do this. Like I said, they made my racing dream come true. I was almost done racing before they called me, so yeah, it's special. Neil Cantor, my crew chief, he's badass. He's the best guy in the modified garage. Phil Stefanelli at PSR Products, Mohawk Northeast, Flow Racing for putting these races on, Smart Modified Tour, Pace-O-Matic again. Man, it would have been a lot sweeter if we got that win earlier, but.
When did the car come alive? Because Brandon Ward broke out to a pretty big lead over you, and you were just able to reel him in. Which changes were it that helped you to get back to the front?
Yeah, I think as it cooled down and rubbered up a little bit and made it kind of multi-groove, that's when it kind of woke up. I restarted second, fell back to fourth, and then the restart after that, it just came alive. I don't know what it was, but man, it was fast. I think we were the best car even before the yellow, before the stop, and we somehow made it even better.
Guys, for the second year in a row, the champ is here, Luke Baldwin.
He is pumped up, and there is the Bankers Life Smarty Championship Trophy, manufactured by Jostens, being presented by Series Director Chris Williams in victory lane. How about that? The champion winning the final race of the year, and his S&S Racing program celebrating with him in victory lane here today. Neil Cantor and everybody. Saw Bill Stanley in the crowd there as well. I'm sure it's going to be a big party tonight for Bill Stanley.
And you know, I love the fact that the very last thing that Luke said after answering that first question from Derek, would have been nice to have 2 wins on the day, though. As if it just wasn't enough.
That's just race car driver.
That's right. A racer is never satisfied unless he or she is in victory lane. And the celebration continues in victory lane for Luke Baldwin. Just a phenomenal year. His 4th victory of the season for Luke Baldwin, and that Pace-O-Matic 99 here today. So look at the unofficial results here for the Smart Modified Tour. It's Luke Baldwin over Brandon Ward. Ryan Newman just a little bit short here today in his quest for his first Smart Modified Championship. He'll finish in the runner-up spot in the standings. Joey Coulter in fourth. Will Lambros, a good top 5 for him here today. His first top 5 in Smart Modified Tour competition. And then there's Paulie Hartwig, another valiant effort for that guy. He escaped so many harrowing moments here today to finish in the top 10.
Jack Baldwin and Daniel Yates, who flipped a strategy. We actually led a portion of this race up to the restart. One of the last restarts that we had rounds out our top 10 on what was a very eventful and electric afternoon for the Smart Modified Tour in their season finale, with Luke Baldwin celebrating the win and the title.
Blake, despite the delays for the engines that were blown around this racetrack and the fluid that was put down, this was a dynamite show. Before we get to you, let's get down with Ryan Newman, who's standing by with James Pike.
Ryan Newman ends up second in the Smart Championship battle. Ryan, how tough was this race to manage, especially with all the brakes and the cautions?
Yeah, I think we went through more floor dry than they did fuel for all the race cars. It's unfortunate when it blew up so many cars, and we've had that 2 races now here. With the wheeling race was a bunch of floor dry, and then again today. But we just never got to get our track position back. And that kind of hurt us. We were really good there after the tire change, whatever it was. I don't know, 30 to go, whatever it was. But either way, we kind of came to life. But those guys kind of started backing up to us. Luke was kind of checking out. Those guys kind of came to us. But either way, I'm really proud of the effort. Shitty Coolers, Aggressive Hydraulics, Capital Auto Group, Montrose Molders, K&K Manufacturing was on the nose, Triangle. Hydraulic Cylinders Inc., a whole bunch of other ones that are a part of what we do, and I thank Coulter Motorsports, Randy Renfro, and everybody for the opportunity, and Flo for televising it for everybody to see.
Another strong season for Ryan Newman of the Smart Modified Tour. He finishes P3.
Third in points last year was Ryan Newman. Second in points this year. That means what, guys, for next year for Ryan Newman? Right? The championship, maybe. Third place in points is Paulie Hartwig, the third, standing by with Derek Pernasiglio.
Ryan Newman just came over here to joke around with Paulie Hartwig, and you're a young guy, but missing all of those wrecks today must have added some years to your life. Oh, my goodness. You probably should have gotten bonus points for avoiding the incidents out there, shouldn't you?
Yeah, man, we definitely had God there with us those last 2 ones. We could have an absolute red car after Bryce blew up, but we definitely, there's a whole hole in my left side door right where I put my arm. So if we had definitely had God there with us, starting 15th is pretty hard here. And we definitely fought a tight car all day. And then we came in after that big oil for the 19 to go. And we loosened it up and it got a little too free. But, it was an awesome year. The worst finisher we had is 17th and 22nd. Racing with these guys are really respectful. Luke has the best team in the world. He's definitely hard to beat. So we had a good year.
What was your dad telling you on the radio? Because I'm sure there were some moments where it must have been really stressful, where you couldn't fold under pressure.
Yeah, man. It just sucks. This is the third race in a row we just overheated and, over 260. So, you're definitely going to overheat here because how much RPM you turn. It just sucks, because we found out that when we overheated, we were getting a little bit murdered because we were getting a little water was almost at 260 the whole time. So, it was overall a good year, and we haven't been here in a while, so it was we'll put a notebook for next year and come back better.
And guys, he's only a high school freshman. Imagine what he's going to be like when he gets good.
Indeed, a lot of talent for 14-year-old Paulie Hartwig. Phenomenal season for him. Winner at Hickory Motor Speedway earlier this year. This one was pretty interesting in the Frontier 99.